All right, welcome to the Sae Bae cast number 183 with a cold one. A cold one. How are we doing this fine Tuesday?
Howdy, we're doing good. How you doing, Mr. Sae Bae?
I'm doing great. Always a pleasure having you on. We really just started this pretty quickly. Usually with most guests I have on, we go over a few ground rules and then we talk about how our day was and just kind of get the nerves out of the way. But with this one now, we just kind of went straight into it. So how are you doing, man? Like how's life? How's 2024 been for you?
2024 has definitely been one of my years, to say the least. It's been one of the years of all time. Let's see, what have we had go on this year aside from the obvious GDQ happening?
Yeah.
Leagues ended. I had the realization that my metabolism had finally shut off when I looked down, and so I gained about 20 pounds.
It's the
And
worst.
I swiftly began gym arc number 3 off of that.
Oh, hell yeah.
So it's been quite a year.
Isn't that like the most depressing thing ever? Like just realizing you're not young anymore. And in fact, it's only going to get worse from here on out.
I mean, you didn't have to say those last couple of words right there to tack onto it, but yes.
Yeah.
It's like a little realization. It's like depressing for a little bit, and then you just like get over it. You're like, yeah, whatever. It's
Yeah.
just the cycle of life. It's how it goes.
I feel like there's just this point of acceptance where you've just accepted it multiple times. You're like, okay, I've accepted it. I've accepted it again. I've accepted it again. And then it's just like, all right, whatever. This is just life. So, and
Oh no, I-
what?
I've definitely gone through those motions. Like it's 100% that. Like you start worrying about things unnecessarily, and then eventually you just get over it. It's all
Yeah.
just mental gymnastics.
So is this like the worst part in life? Like, does it get any worse? Like, is there another point in life where I mean, I've heard of midlife crises, but like, I feel like I already had my quarter life crisis, and that's been, I feel like, what my midlife crisis will be. I feel like it was pretty pronounced, and I can't imagine me going through something like more intense than that. So I almost feel like the worst has already passed, and I'm like, okay, from here on out, it's just hopefully gonna get a little bit better.
Like can't really speak much for midlife crisis because I haven't had the urge to buy like a Lamborghini yet or anything. But I feel like we're probably maybe less than 10 years out from experiencing that. I'll
Yeah.
keep you posted.
Well, the thing is, like, I just don't hear of people having quarter life crises, and so I just think, is that a common thing? Like, do people have that in their 20s? Because that's what I experienced. But because I never hear of that, I assume I had my midlife crisis back then, or like a few years ago, or like
I
still
mean, I had
currently
something
going through it.
kind of similar to that.
Okay.
So I'll level with you. I'll validate like your like opinions and feelings on this a little bit.
Yeah.
Like I did have that kind of experience. I want to say like between 27 and 29, where like my life was just taking a much bigger change than anything ever before. Like school had all been finished up. I'm in the working force. I'm starting to live on my own, like more consistently and everything. And it's just like a realization like my life is just incredibly different from how it was 6 years ago, and that's just the general scope of things. And I think that's what causes quarter life crisis in a lot of like younger adults today. And I
I
think that's like no different with you as well.
I wonder how much it has to do with like just our living in the technological age and just social media and all these things. I feel like we have higher expectations of ourselves than people previously did. Or like,
Oh, absolutely.
yeah, I don't know. I think that's really what it is. It's like these like super weird expectations you have of yourself because you can just see everything that's happening in the world, and it just gives you a way broader perspective of things. You're not just living in your tiny little village or little community that you never even see anything else besides that. I don't know.
Oh
It's
no, 1,000,000% the change our scope on the world for real.
yeah. It's I don't know if you saw that meme on Twitter. I just laughed out loud. It was just this guy that's looking at his phone and it's like a basic meme template of like some photo of some random guy just looking at his phone. It's just like me 8 in the morning watching a car explode or something like that. Like just like the average day of our lives, just like first things first, pull out your phone,
Like,
watch some really deranged shit, and then start your day. It's just like damn.
it, just doom scroll the Twitter feed really quick, see what kind of engagement bait videos out there.
So fucking bad, dude. So bad for your brain. Oh my god!
Mm.
It's just like we did not have like the evolution's got to speed up quick because we're not used to this. All right, but there was obviously the summer GDQ, which to be fair, I've never really followed Games Done Quick much, but I've been over the years I've popped in here and there when it's something relevant. You're gonna have to just educate me on this whole thing, basically, and just go through how this even happened. How did you get selected? Like what is this? What is Games Done Quick for the ignorant like myself that just are kind of out of the loop with the whole thing? Just go into it.
All right. So we'll just start from the top, and I'm just gonna rob the microphone for a little while we do a little storytelling time.
Hell
So
yeah.
get a little cup of coffee and sit down and just open your ears, I guess.
Hell yeah.
All right, so we'll just start from the top. What is Games Done Quick? So Games Done Quick is a charity organization that's been around for over 10 years now, and it's just gotten more and more sophisticated as time goes on. And their main goal is to raise money for charity. And in recent times, it's been for Prevent Cancer Foundation. And for many years, it was also the one that we did this SGDQ, Doctors Without Borders. And 100% of the proceeds that are donated like live to the event go towards that charity, not just the 27% like most charitable organizations are required to do. And the working staff gets its proceeds to actually pay for the event from like Twitch itself, like Twitch subscriptions, bits and cheers, like whatever goes into there goes to paying for like event staff and everything. But if you donate directly to the website, it goes directly to that cause. So that is like the scope of what GDQ is. It gains its basis on showcasing video game speedruns. So that was how it initially started. Like, so a lot of the old goats, like, Super Mario 64, 120 star, 16 star, Super Mario Brothers in 5 minutes. It's everything. Every old video game, every classic video game was like the initial start, like the grassroots of Games Done Quick events. And as time has gone on, it's expanded its scope a bit more. It's accepted more games. There's like, some categories have been run a bit too many times. And yeah, I was the first person to showcase Old School RuneScape in the most recent SGDQ 2024, which was kind of a big deal because historically they've never really accepted any game that had to be played specifically online. They were very against this for the longest time, but the games committee's eased up and been a bit more open-minded in recent times, and that's kind of how we got here in the first place. But there's a little bit more to it than that. So I don't know if you remember, but I traveled down to AGDQ up in Pittsburgh, like earlier this year in January. I don't know if we chit-chatted about that, how I traveled up there, met a few people and everything, because that's how this all began with the mission process in the first place. Now, when AGDQ happened 6 months ago, my initial reason to go there is because a game that I really enjoy, Majora's Mask, one that BC Guppy enjoys as well, was being run for the 100% category for the first time in almost half a decade. And a couple of my friends, Shenanigans, Keyzeron, One David J, two of them are very, very like tied into like staff of like GDQ, and Dave is also a runner for I think 5 times now between F-Zero and Kirby Air Ride in the GDQ space. So they were like very, very well cemented into the community, and they're good friends of mine. I was like, you know what, this is a good excuse. I'll travel out for the week. Why not? And during that time, I met a lot of people in the GDQ space, primarily in like the Pokemon speedrunning community. And who else I met there? So I met like Etiquette, I met ADEF, I met Corvin May, I met like a bunch of different like speedrunners in the Pokemon community. That's how I started to socialize a bit more and network a little bit and just meet people, greet people. And one night we all went out for dinner, and another staff member, Saints Divide, was there with ADEF, Shenanigans, myself, Raph, and David. And we're like, just chatting and talk about like sponsorships comes up, and that's how our first conversations begin with like me and these other people in the community. And I introduce myself and who I am, like what game I do, and talks of like, would your game ever be submitted for GDQ? And I was like, nah, probably not. Like, I don't think it'd be good for like a GDQ setting and everything. And I met up with a couple other people at a hotel party. Their names were Burnt Bowser and Link Too Many Numbers, and we talked about the same thing. Like, hey, why don't you submit for like RuneScape for GDQ, like some speedrun of like maybe a raid or something like that? It'd be pretty cool. And, like we laughed it off and like, nah, they wouldn't accept an online game. So fast forward 2 months after all that rambling, and we come to, it was actually like a week after Coliseum release in the timeline, and submissions had opened up for Games Done Quick, and they require you to submit like a full video of the run, some commentary over it, information, the whole 9 yards. And originally, it was supposed to be No Monkey that was going to submit the game for us and perform live on stage. We had talked about this for a little while. He was like all about the idea, this sounds awesome. But he unfortunately just didn't have time in his schedule to like, get a run going, fully commentate, like get a video put together. So I was like, what the hell? I'll take the reins and submit the video.
And let me just pause you real quick. At this time, did you even think it was possible to get RuneScape on, or was this just all like hope, like just a lot of hope? Like, okay, maybe this could happen.
this was me aiming for the stars, trying to land on the moon type of beat. I did not think it was possible. I was like, we're just going to put it out there, make the formatting correct, like, have the description, like, very understandable for a non-RuneScape player. Put some key timestamps in there, make sure it just looks like a good submission, and hope for the best.
Okay, so it wasn't necessarily like No Monkey wasn't interested in doing it. He was just like, maybe like this probably isn't even worth the time because it probably won't even be looked at because it's an online game.
No, he was very interested and very well into it, but he was just incredibly busy at the time.
Oh
And
yeah, with Kick and everything.
yeah, yeah, it was like I think maybe a 2 hour or 3 hour-ish process to actually fully submit it, like get the run going, and actually fully record and dub over it. And that was like a fair chunk of time to ask someone who was like, I don't know, there's probably some other stuff going on in his IRL as well,
Yeah.
which we don't know about, but he just didn't have the time for it, and I just submitted, and there we went from that point, and then it was just I think like a 1 or 2 month waiting period before we actually found the games list, and then we take a look at it. I see my name on there. I see the game. I see it on the schedule, and I just dropped jaw. I could not believe it was actually accepted onto the marathon.
That is crazy. So when you're saying they never accepted online games, is this the first one they've accepted, or have there been exceptions here and there?
I'm not 100% sure. I'd have to look back and see if there's any other game that has to strictly be played online that they've accepted. But as far as I'm aware, this is the only game that needed an active internet connection in order to play, like live on the stage.
Wow. That is crazy. So yeah, so it took what you said, a month or two to finally get the thing, and it wasn't even like an announcement really. It was just like on the thing, like here's the schedule, this is what it is, like show up sort of, or what? Like is there somebody that reached out to you personally?
Oh, they reached out to the email that I submitted with the run and everything. So I got the notification on my Gmail, on my phone. I see like congratulations, your run's been accepted. I was holy
Wow.
yeah, and they gave me a link to the Discord, got us all sorted out and onboarded from there, and then everything else is history.
That is so dope. So okay, now I want to hear about the whole thing. Where was this event held? And what was like, because was the commentary already, like when you're saying you had to make like a video for this, was it kind of rough around the edges? Did you really try to like do it well? Was it just you commentating? Was it somebody else as well? Or like, what did the video look like? And then, I was there watching your actual performance on it, and there was you and three other guys on the couch commentating alongside you. And when things got a little bit busier, they would commentate. So how did that all work with the video compared to the actual event?
All right, so the video I submitted was only me commentating. Some of it was dubbed over commentary. For like when I had to do other rooms, but I tried to explain everything as best I could for like a non-RuneScape player. That is like the commentary you kind of have to go for when doing stuff like this, or just any game in general. Like make it easy to digest for a general viewer.
Mm-hmm.
So everything that I commentated over, it was just a CM run, like start to finish. There was gaps in it, and you can also leave like subtitles on. Like this would be a part where I'd ask like the announcer to read donations or what have you, or other conversations. So you throw those in there as well in your submission process, and they like look for that kind of thing too. Like, do you leave gaps in your commentary?
Okay. And then what decided? There's like so many like little things I want to go on, like just asking you about different things. But for the actual event itself, who did you decide on having three people on the couch? Is that kind of like part of the thing? You got to have people there. And how many times did you guys practice this thing? Like, did you kind of like do trial runs and see like when to fill the air and when people are going to say certain things about certain rooms? Like, how did that all work out?
All right, so the couch I got to decide. Everyone gets to decide their own couch, and you're allowed to have, including the runner, 4 people on microphone. So I was allowed to have up to 3 people on my couch, and my choice is pretty like set in stone already. Like we all have good chemistry with each other. We all have like decent understanding of the game. Like commentary could be filled. They're very experienced in like the GDQ space and like taking care of a GDQ crowd and talking to them. So as far as rehearsing goes, we did 0. We literally did not rehearse anything. The only thing we did was set up 2 different bits. One of them was keys around getting an attack level, and he was like training at Ammonite Crabs like hours beforehand, making sure he'd have the experience to get the level on stage. And that led into us getting an in-game gathering going of everyone crashing him. So Shen leaked his world, like, hey, if you want to go join him, he's on World 420 at Ammonite Crabs in the Wyvern spot. And within minutes, there were hundreds of people there. So that all just worked out perfectly.
That is so funny. So that was actually a planned bit. That wasn't just. I guess
Yes.
I mean, obviously it was planned. It's like it's just randomly he gets that attack level. But yeah, that's cool.
hmm
And
Yeah,
then
that bit was planned.
what was the second one?
The rope skip chart.
What was that? Explain it.
So, like when I was doing the rope skip, Shen pulled up a giant white poster board with like a graph explaining the
Oh yeah.
percent chance of, yeah. So
But for I
that,
guess for
that that
those
was
that
the other
didn't,
bit.
yeah, for those that didn't see it, what was it?
It was just a chart that explained like the percentage chance of succeeding a rope skip, and Shen went over like the intricacies behind it with like this gigantic poster board chart up. Like everyone, like write this down. This will be on the test tomorrow. Type bit.
Yeah, awesome. And what
And then
would
everything else was kind of ad lib.
okay, that's cool. I mean, it seemed very smooth. It almost seemed like rehearsed. So I was very impressed. And there was a ton. I mean, what was the peak viewership? I know it was at least 50,000. Might have even been a little bit higher than that. I don't know if you
So I
actually
remember
saw it.
like looking at my notifications. Oh, I
Yeah.
did. I
Okay.
saw, like, I got a lot of like Discord notifications. Like after the run, I opened up my phone. Like there were some people there that came out to like watch the run. Turned on and look, and I was just like, why do I have 45 Discord notifications right now? And I have like almost everything like muted, deafened, and all. And I just see all these red bubbles popped up. And one of them was from, I think it was Adicon showed me like the peak viewership. You will not believe this when I tell you, 73,000. I cannot make
No
this up.
way. Smorg.
I will send you the image. One
I need to
second.
see this. Yeah.
I am leaking DMs with me and Mr. Adicon. It's that you literally cannot make it up.
Should have been 420 at the end. Yeah, only 90. Rip. 73,000.
So
That is crazy.
yeah,
And
so close yet so far.
maybe for those that don't, I mean, obviously people know 73,000 is a shit ton of viewers, but I remember, like, what's the highest viewership that you've ever received? Because I remember on was it your hardcore solo Tob run that was your peak viewership before that, or have you had another moment that was even higher than that?
Um,
So I want to say
so I
that one
remember
was
the
over
hardcore
10K.
solo Tob one.
Yeah.
That one was like 11 and a half, 12 something. It was around that neck of the woods. That was
Okay.
my peak back then. And I
Yeah.
think that might have been surpassed on Tombs of a Mascot release, solely because I was just the vacuum cleaner that sucked up every single raid from everyone else that was big at the time. Like Adicon hosted me, Bodhi hosted me, Wooks hosted me, and I think like Moist Critical hosted one of them, so I got his viewers as well. I have to
Jesus.
like go back and look. That's like 2 years back now almost.
What were the
And that might have
nerves?
been like 13, 14. I don't know.
So you seem like a pretty calm guy in situations like that. Obviously, you've been live streaming for years as well, which is probably a little bit different than being in front of an actual crowd and streaming to tens of thousands of people online. But what were your nerves like? Were you scared? Were you a little bit like hesitant about like how the run would go? Were there parts of the raid that you were like, oh God, like this is gonna be stressful when I get to this point? Like how were you feeling throughout it?
So the weird thing with me is when the actual event is going on, and I think this is normal for maybe a lot of other people too. Like when I'm in the instance of what's supposed to be making you nervous, I have not a single thought in my mind. No nerves, nothing. Everything's just normal, like another day in the world. But the events leading up to it, like the few hours beforehand, the days beforehand, oh no, the nerves are going off. I'm overthinking everything in between. But as soon as they said, like, here's a cold one with old school RuneScape, everything just melted away instantly.
Wow. And then it was just like free flowing from there.
Yep.
That's
Didn't have
nice.
to like overthink anything. Just kind of went with the flow and just kept the thought in the back of my head. Do not swear a single time, and that was it.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like I would struggle with that. Like if I was ever to commentate something like for somebody else, as some sort of event or something, like I have a problem with that. So actually, I don't know, because I feel like when you're in a certain moment or in a certain situation, you just act a little bit differently. Like if I'm ever over at my parents' house, like I never swear ever. Like it doesn't even come close. But when I'm here at my home, it's like there's something comforting about just like, you know, as soon as the mic's in front of me, basically, I can just I turn on a different persona slightly. So yeah,
I think we all just have like different dictionaries that we work with. Like
yeah,
when we used to work, like at a what the YouTube page would call a real job back in the day. Like we had different dictionaries that we would have to use, like different dialects, different like ways of speaking. Like we wouldn't use certain words in the workplace that we would use at home,
Yeah.
and you'd have to like shift from like one setup to another.
Yeah. Literally. I want to trail back quickly to the games done quick because there are a few questions just regarding that whole thing. So Maze on Twitter asks, will you try to get OSRS onto GDQ again? If so, what would you like to run next? And I guess, would you want to do it again, you personally, or do you think you would want to have somebody else do it? Like, what are your whole thoughts on the future of RuneScape being there?
So I do have a plan for Old School RuneScape to be submitted for AGDQ 2025, but I'm not going to leak exactly what it is or who it's for yet. It's just going to be a little bit of a surprise. You know, and then if it gets in, it gets in. If it doesn't, I'll be like, yeah, this is the plan. This is what I submitted. So we'll be waiting a couple months before I say exactly what that is.
Nice, nice. What would you want to I mean, it would. I just wonder because with the CM speedrun, even if you made a mistake, like you kind of just die and you can kind of continue where you're left off. I was thinking like an Inferno speedrun, for example. That seems a bit more intense because you could, I don't know, if you're really trying to go fast, you could just wipe the run, and I don't know how that works on stage. Actually, how does that work exactly when people just completely fail a run? Like, does that happen?
It varies game to game. It was actually something I should have mentioned earlier when I was explaining the submission process and how I landed on a Chambers CM solo. Chambers CM is probably one of the safest things you could have in a marathon setting, because as you said, if you die, you just go back to the start of the first floor.
Mm-hmm.
But then in Inferno, if you die on like wave 46 or something, you're knocked out. Like that's it, run over.
Yeah.
And there's just no completion.
Yeah. Are there other games like that that's just completely wipe? And have we have they seen that?
As far as seeing it, as far as like my memory goes, I don't think I've ever witnessed a game that was like wiped from the system shutting off or like a runner failing something that loses them time. And one really good example I can give of this is the run that I went to go see at HEDQ, Majora's Mask 100%. There is a section of the game called Cycle 2 where it's roughly 2.5-ish hours, I think, and there's no save points at all during this time.
Oh my god.
Keep in mind. So if you find a way to like botch it, like everything's just erased. So like let's say it's 2 hours into the run, and we'll give the worst possible case example, which can happen and has happened in the past, but not in the GDQ. Like, you know, knock on wood, and hopefully it never does if it happens again. The game can crash, and it is very, very prone to crashing. It is a jank game from the era of Nintendo 64, and was not properly optimized for the system. And if it just crashes 2 hours into the run, you're just sad, and you can't continue. Like, you wouldn't be able to like meet the estimate anymore. You just have to end and find another way to fill time.
Oh my god.
And as far as I'm aware, at least in GDQ, I don't think that kind of thing has happened yet, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe somebody can correct me.
Okay. So most people that get on there are very, very proficient at what they're doing. They're going to get it done for the most part. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Let me ask you this as well, because obviously when you said you're commentating for the person that's probably never even seen OSRS. So you have to explain things very basically. How do you feel exactly about the perception that you're giving off about a game to some people that have never seen or heard about Old School RuneScape before? Have you ever been kind of thinking about how you're going to phrase this to somebody that's never played it and then realize this is a really fucking weird game? Like, this makes no sense. Or just moments where you're like, this game is not going to appeal to anybody because it's just so weird. The graphics are bad. Like, I don't know. Did you ever have any moments when you're kind of commentating where you're just like, this is a weird game to be commentating?
So, like, my mentality, I never thought about, like, who would have negative perception of the game. I just only thought about, like, the minds of who would have a positive or, like, a neutral perception of the game and try to appeal to that. Because you're never going to appeal to the negative minds if they don't like what they're seeing anyway. So, I had to make it, like, more appealing, like, kind of break it down. I think even, like, the first room in Tecton, like, I didn't have time to go over the full mechanics of the boss, but I was able to put it in layman's terms where you have to go counterclockwise and go into his blind spots to avoid damage. And even like somebody who hasn't played a video game before could understand that lingo, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what you have to break things down to. You can't be like, well, on tick 3, you have to move to this tile, and then 4 ticks later, you need to, like, already we're talking about something that even some RuneScapers have no idea about, because they're not knowledgeable about the tick system. They don't care for the tick system. So
I
we tried
think
to like avoid that, but we still bring it up, you know.
yeah, one of the things that I feel like even inspired me to ask that question was toward the end. I don't know who it was. Maybe it was somebody on the couch, but it was something like, this is like the best content in the game. I think that sentiment was kind of spoken. It was like, this is like the best content. This is like peak content in old school RuneScape, and you like see it, and it's just this like green swamp dungeon, and it's just, I'm just trying to see it as like somebody that's like chronically on Fortnite or just, you know, Call of Duty or something. Just seeing this little point and click game, like this is the peak thing that you can experience on this game, and I'm like, damn, like that's not really selling it too well. I guess that's the negative part of me. That's just, I'm addicted to this game. I love it to death, but I've tried to sell it to my friends as well, old school RuneScape, and it just never goes down well. They're like, this is the most pointless game. And so to say at any point that this is the peak content that can be experienced in this game is just like, oh no, that's not a great selling point. Just surely you have to keep the ceiling open so that they can imagine something that could be better than this. But I don't know. That's something that's always worried me.
I think it's like an unnecessary worry, because even games with like, you know, less optimal graphics, like I think it's no secret, old school RuneScape is a very old graphical styled game. It's still like based around like the graphical limitations of 2004, 2005, or whenever. Like you can even see it by looking around. Like even in the area I am, this is really crudely drawn, like, you know, rocks, like these just really, really janky looking rock models across the floor, and that's just the norm for this game. But you compare it to like another game, like we'll call like old school RuneScape one of the greats of our time. Now imagine trying to get someone that's like more graphic centric about how they like their games to like Super Mario Brothers 3, one of the best titles for the Nintendo Entertainment System back in, I think it came out in like the early 90s, and it still holds up to this day. It's still one of the greats. It's one of the best video games made for the console. But
And it
like
does.
you're not going to sell a game based on graphics to everybody.
It's true.
It's still about gameplay at the end of the day, and RuneScape is definitely about gameplay and less so about the graphics, I think.
And there are so many classic games that are like, is that kind of what GDQ focuses on most? Is like these kind of classic games that have these really ingrained speedrun metas and stuff. I mean, what are the most like modern games they showcase on there? I mean, do they just showcase every game basically?
They showcase whatever gets submitted and whatever gets approved by Games Committee. I think
Okay.
one of the most recent games was actually Donkey's game. Animal Well got in for a speed run at this GDQ,
I've never heard of that.
and that just came out this year.
Okay. Okay, so they get a huge
And then we'll
variety.
have games from like, yeah, and then we'll have games from like 1985. Like we had original Mario Brothers on this as well. So like a gigantic gap in a leap of time, like a 40-year difference in game releases.
Interesting. Yeah, I guess you're getting a huge variety of people, and you can't appeal to everybody, like you said.
Mm-hmm. You appeal to who you can appeal to. You're not going to please everybody all the time, you know? And you have to get used to that.
That's really cool though, man. Like that was really cool to see you in the Twitch chat. I know you probably weren't looking at it during the thing, but there was so many familiar OSRS names that were priming and getting involved in the chat and everything. It was just a really cool experience, you being able to showcase the game.
I saw the video that It's Will came out with of him like react Andying to the stream.
I didn't see it, but I can
And
imagine
I
it.
saw bits in the chat. Like I remember I saw RSGF actually post like an enlarged version of my cat's emote in the Twitch chat. And that's something new Twitch has done, where they let you like, I guess, cheer extra bits and you make a really big message.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny.
Yeah. That was actually genius of them. It's called Gigantify. Yeah, I love it.
That is massive.
Also, I wanted to ask: are the people in the crowd there? Are they paid, or do they just are they just around and they've bought tickets or something for it? Like, how does that all work? Because they were so responsive, so happy, so cheery. I don't know. It almost seemed like a paid audience that was just like there for it. But I don't actually know how the audience works. Do you have to buy tickets?
So the audience, yeah, you do have to buy a ticket to actually engage with any part of the event that is specific towards GDQ. Like you can walk around the hotel as an unchecked guest if you want, but if you want to get into the ballroom where like the event is being held, or like let's say the arcade or the games room, board games room, you need to have a pass on you, and I think it's $85 for the whole week, and you can do whatever you want as long as you're wearing that pass.
Okay, not bad. Okay. So let's hear a little bit about your experience with just old school RuneScape in general. How does the game feel for you right now? We're in the middle of 2024. A lot of people are claiming this is the golden era of OSRS. Some people are like completely on the doom spectrum, where it's like this game is just completely destroyed. It's, you know, it's turning into RS3. It's going to keep going down the RS3 route. Everything's passing. This game's burning. And they've been saying the same thing for 11 years. This game's dead. It's dying. But what are your overall thoughts on the game's direction and just your overall, I don't know. Are you having fun with the game? Let's hear it.
So first off, I'm gonna keep it a buck. This game has been dying since 2004, and it's 20 years later, and it's still alive somehow. So yeah, the game is dying. It's been dying for 20 years. It's still dying. I promise. It's still dying. Don't worry. It's definitely dying.
It's actually doing really, really good at dying.
It's doing a really good job at dying right now. I think our average viewer, wow, not average. Oh my God, nice brain. Our average player count has gone up a lot in the past year. So yeah, it's doing a really good job at dying. I think that's how dying works. Okay, the bit has definitely been overdone. I'll step away from it now. How I feel about the game right now, just in general, I don't play that much. Like I mostly just play on stream. I'm playing right now, so I have something to do. Like while we're chatting, you're doing your little Iron Man grinds right now. You're mining your little gem rocks, you know, getting your little bracelet gems and stuff. And I'm over here putting bananas under a rock.
Not mining them, cutting them. I'm cutting them at a bank.
Oh God! Oh, my mistake. I'm sorry. I take back everything. You're cutting them. That's actually kind of massive.
Yeah, it is.
Ready for the bracelets.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like other than that, like I'm not doing that kind of stuff like in my spare time. Like I log in when I stream, and I pretty much never play off stream anymore, except like instances like right now, or if I need to like pass time for a couple minutes, I'll hop on mobile and catch a couple of monkeys in the deadfall rocks. That's really it.
Mm-hmm. When did that happen? By the way,
I don't think it's really
a few years ago. I mean, it's been years. I'm imagining. Was it after your D iron?
What, that I stopped playing as much? No, I want to say it's like maybe. I want to say 2 months after TOA release, I just stopped playing as much if it wasn't for like stream or for YouTube or something like that.
Dude,
my interest has like just not been there.
That is exactly the time period that happened to me too. Like
really,
it was TOA release. Like a month afterward, as soon as I got my Fang kit, I was just like it even took me almost a year to get my CAs done for TOA. I was just like, oh man. And I feel like other people have kind of felt similar around that era. I don't know what it was exactly, but it did. And I blamed it on so many other factors, but I tried not to blame it on the game too much because I realized, maybe it's just me getting older and me not caring as much about just constantly gaining XP or getting items or whatnot. But it did feel around that time. That's when I and a few others definitely were burning out. Interesting to say that you had the similar experience.
I think that's the main thing. It's a mental shift in us where we don't really see this game as like that important anymore, as something we really need to prioritize. Maybe I'm like using the wrong like term or words here, but that's just the way I see it. We don't really see like much reason to play unless we like absolutely have to. I guess for like streamers, it's a bit different than like normal players, but I think we're all a little bit burnt, just a sad on the toasted side.
Yeah, I think it's just there's some energy. There's just so much more passion when you're younger for games. I think you're just not focused as much. Again, this is me just projecting onto everybody, but at least for me, I couldn't even see like a week ahead, basically, like in real life. So it was so much easier to just funnel all my energy and passion and focus into this game and see the long-term goals in the game because it's so much easier to see and see your progress. And then over time, you just kind of lift the narrow, pigeonholed view of the game, at least for me. And I was definitely like an odd case. Like, I was definitely playing this game a lot more than the average player. But yeah, you just hit a point where you realize, oh, this game's endless. So what am I going to do? Am I just going to like keep investing as much time as possible into this endless game that never ends? Or can I just take a step back and just enjoy the game for what it is and just have more fun and just log out and just, I don't know. That's, yeah. It's a weird phase to go through, especially when you were like so addicted. I'm talking about myself here.
I mean, I was definitely addicted to this game for a good portion of my life too. I think anyone that loves this game enough has definitely been through like an addiction phase with Old School RuneScape.
It's a good time though when you're addicted. Like it's fun in the moment, and I wouldn't really take it back because ultimately that's what I wanted to do. So it's kind of fun doing truly what you want to do, which is just sweat OSRS. But I feel like when time passes, it's a natural process of you just not caring as much about it. And now at this point, I have part of my audience that thinks I am way too liberal in my views, way too progressive on my views towards OSRS. I think I'm obviously slower than you are because I'm perceiving, even just like last year, the whole Duke mining thing, which by the way, I am still against things like that, where you can actually just unironically play the game for 6 hours without actually touching anything on your computer. But
yeah, that shit was so fucking broken. I love that.
But
that was peak.
I totally, like, at this point, even last year, I wouldn't outrage about it as much even just 1 year later. Not even 1 year later. It's only July right now. But I'm like, I wouldn't care as much, and people are upset with me about that. The fact that I'm not like holding to those integrity values that I cared about years back, because ultimately I actually just don't care as much than I did. Obviously, there's certain elements of this game that I want to keep intact integrity-wise. But a lot of the time, like, people are asking me about stackable clues. I was heavily against stackable clues for a long-ass time. Nowadays, dude, I'm like, just send it. Because, well, one, we have the juggling meta, which is just super nauseating. So I'm down for stackable clues. I am down for bank preset, like loadouts. Like I'm down for that, which is just abominable. You know, people would think I am completely going against what they think that I stood for so many years. I don't know. I know you've obviously gone down a similar route, but I don't know how much integrity you really cared about, even when you just played Iron Man exclusively. Did you ever care that much about the game's direction integrity wise?
I did, yeah, just because I want this game to like survive as long as it did, or like as long as it possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
And like if the game gets updated in a very progressive state, sometimes maybe too accelerated, it becomes this place where your achievements essentially don't mean anything, and you have no drive to follow through with any of them. Like in a slightly watered down automelogy state, or like a point of view, I guess. Let's just take what can I use as a piece of example here? Yeah, we'll go with mining, for example. You know, mining's actually a pretty good one to start with. So we've had 3-tick random that's been around since the dawn of time in Old School RuneScape, and that still is to this day the best way to train it. But it's a very, very high effort. And then Duke mining, as you mentioned earlier, was an incredibly like toxic method that probably shouldn't have existed in the first place. I loved it because I was already at the point where I stopped caring about like integrity in the game. And if you have that same viewpoint, you would have loved Duke mining too. But if you cared about integrity, you'd be like, why the hell did this thing even make it into the game into the first place? Like, insert the Tyler 1 clip here. And it's at this point where like I don't care about like integrity. Like I'll just take any little buff or any like, cheap like experience I can get. But if you want to like care about something, if you want to enjoy something and truly invest your time into something, you're less inclined to do so if you know things like this can happen, like with Duke mining, where you can click once, put like a weight on your space bar, and just get 70k experience overnight, or whatever the value was. I don't remember
I think it was 60K.
It was somewhere around there.
Yeah.
It's like, why bother like putting in effort when I could just put in no effort and get the same exact thing, you know?
Yeah.
So that caused me to like just stop caring like years ago about game integrity, because obviously like we've gone past the slippery slope. Like we're going down the ice slide right now, and there's no turning back. There's no friction. We're just full sending at this point. So I'm just like, wait until we get to RS3-2. Like as you said, we're on our way there. There's no stopping it. Like that stackable clue bullshit You remember when they gave us like, this juggling meta, like, oh, we'll make him last on the ground for an hour. This is literally history repeating itself from 10 years ago when we got the trading post. And they're like, oh, try this out instead of the Grand Exchange. And everyone fucking hated it. Just like everyone hates stackable clues. So now even people that didn't want stackable clues, even people that didn't want the Grand Exchange, like, I want the Grand Exchange now. This shit sucks. Get rid of this. Give me the Grand Exchange right now. And that's exactly what's happening with stackable clues.
Bro,
It's the same exact graphics method.
that is 100% right. That is actually the best example. It is slightly conspiratorial to even throw that in there because I have talked to JMods and I've talked to some UIMs. Apparently this whole thing, and again, this is where the conspiracy arises, but apparently this whole thing about the juggling of clues for an hour or having them last for an hour was something to do with some UIM thing. Like just, I honestly cannot even remember at the moment what it all was, but some UIM like clarified this is not Jagex trying to push stackable clues. It's not part of their agenda. This was something for UIM to make it so blah blah blah. Again, I'm just doing a horrible job because I can't actually remember what I don't follow UIM stuff. I couldn't tell you what exactly it was at this point. But
I'll tell you right now, I'm full sending on the conspiracy theory here that UIM excuse is just a scapegoat. That's a lie. They're 100% trying to get stackable clues into the game.
That was a conspiracy of the conspiracy.
Yeah.
But you're right. This is exactly what the trading post is before the Grand Exchange. The juggling bullshit. We're seeing it on Behemoth now. Just like yesterday, they made a video talking about. I mean, they're just showing a clip of Scott just juggling 28 masters on the ground and just doing them. Like what is going? Like, do we really have to just drop, pick up, drop? Just give us the stackable clues now. Just stop with this bullshit. Just come on.
Exactly. And see, even you're at the point where, like you said, you didn't want stackable clues years ago, and now you're like, oh, hell yeah, let me get that shit.
Yeah.
Let me get some stackable clues up in here,
Yeah, it's mainly, and I will say this, it's not simply because I don't care about integrity with clues. It's simply because we're not going to revert. There's just I understand the player base. I understand the team. They're not going to revert this clue change. They're not going to go back to the 3-minute timer. Nobody really wants a 3-minute timer in the first place. And so the only way forward, are we going to stick here with the juggling clues for the next 5 years, or are we just going to just pull the Band-Aid off and give us stackable clues? And stackable clues, even though, I'm kind of against, it's just going to make the game feel way more smooth at this point. It's not going to be as janky, which I actually very much appreciate. I like that some people really like the charm of the jankiness in this game. I disagree, honestly. I want this game to feel smooth, and I still love the tick system and everything, but I want like certain things to not feel as clunky. And I think clue scrolls being stackable would resolve that.
Unfortunately, I'm one of the people that enjoys the charm of how janky this game can be sometimes, and there's certain things I do not want fixed, even though they have no negative impact on the game, but they will probably just get fixed for the sake of consistency. Because it's just charming. I like just the certain little things that are just messed up. Like one really weird and pointless mechanic, and I know you've done go to this place probably like at least once a week because you're a clue scroll fanatic. There's a couple of rocks you have to jump on the pirate ship at the northern end of like Mauritania.
Yep.
Like for that Ghost Ahoy quest, and there's an elite and I think a master clue step out there as well. And
Yep.
Every time you jump over, it takes away 5 run energy from you. It is the most pointless thing ever, but it's just like tiny little crap like that, like old code from like 2005 that I love.
No, you're right. So I guess let me just say I do like the jankiness when it's just random and it's fun, but the jankiness I hate is this is a prime example of the jankiness I hate. They added a bunch of new shortcuts just a couple months ago to Project Rebalance. There's a bunch of shortcuts you can go through, and every single one of the shortcuts that they made where you can go through a tunnel, like for example, the Relica Slayer dungeon, both of those like squeeze through things. Actually, I guess there's just one squeeze through thing. And then in the mining guild, there's a squeeze through thing in the middle of the mining guild, or not mining guild, the mining, the Dwarven mine.
I think I know exactly where this is going, and I've got another example.
It's that one. It's just like you pass through it. They made it quicker, and then your guy sits there for 2 full ticks. Once he's passed through, you see your true tile on the tile, and you should be able to start moving now. Your guy sits there to finish the animation and stand there for a full tick before you can do fucking anything. And it's just like, let me move. Let me move. Like, this is supposed to be a shortcut. Can we make this snappier, zippier? That's the jankiness I hate. It just like makes me cringe. I just speed it up.
I can agree with that one, but I got another janky one. I thought you were going to go somewhere different with this shortcut.
Tell me.
Because I think the shortcuts in Relic of Slayer Cave work like this, where the moment you click on them, you cannot cancel that action. You are stuck walking to the shortcut, and you cannot break that. And there's another one that I remember from Lumberj Swamp, because Sea Engineer's original PvP hardcore almost died this way, where he clicked to jump over like the swamp rock in the Lumberj Swamp Cave, and it does the same thing. You can't break the action. You're now just walking to it in slow motion, like David Hasselhoff in some lifeguard scene. You're just watching yourself majestically just walk over there with the run orb on, mind you, and you're just trapped in this stall for like 10 seconds. I love that kind of stuff. It's hysterical.
Yeah, though actually, now you talking about that, when you lock on to if you're gonna do Tarn's layer step and you're going to Berg de Rot with the legs and you hop over that broken fence, fence, no matter where you stand, even if you tried to like line it up where like, okay, this is where my guy normally runs from. No, your dude, as soon as you click the fence, your dude has to walk toward it, get there, and then back up 2 tiles. Even if you already were backed up 2 tiles, ready to jump the fence, your guy has to go forward, touch the fence, and then back up again to jump over. I'm like, dear God, fix this. Like, just make us jump this already. Yeah. Some of it's painful, but yeah, you don't need to get rid of it all, but the things that genuinely feel like, it feels slow and sluggish, I don't like. So
yeah, I can respect that.
Yeah.
Some stuff can go, but I would very much prefer some things to stay, just out of, like, you know, partly nostalgia, but also just, like you said, the charm of, like, you know, how jank this game has been in the past, like, in its peak jank.
Yeah.
Like, it's unreleased jank.
I mean, now, for some reason, it just came to my mind when I had you and Whale on talking. We were talking about those chunky doors in the Fisher realm. It's just those fucking chunksters that just never got updated to the new models. I want all doors to be replaced by those. Like, that's the jank I like, just the graphic jank. Like, yes, give us those chunk doors, man.
Here, we're gonna take a little field trip, because I imagine you're probably at Shallow Village Bank cutting the gems. I'm just guessing which bank you're at.
No. I'm actually we're gonna take a look. I'm actually at the Gnome Stronghold Bank upstairs by Neve or Steve.
All right, come World 421. We're gonna go on a little field trip. I think I might have done this in the last Sae Bae cast I had with you, the one with Whale. You want to go to Mauritania? We're gonna go to Frankenstein's castle.
Oh yeah, okay. I'll meet you there. 421.
Yep.
All right. And explain this to the Spotify listeners, because there will be people that are not watching this.
Okay, so yeah, we'll give a little bit of an audiobook for those that are, like, you know, listening while they're driving their truck and everything.
Yeah.
So in Frankenstein's castle, there's actually someone here. It looks like a fresh little Iron Man with his Port Khazard armor and Ghost Speak amulet, and he's got the right pair of boots. He's got the fancy boots on. My goat. Hell yeah.
Huge.
Something I just noticed now is, like, you run around this way. There's some jank here too. Nice Bloodhound.
Yeah, look, right here, because there's supposed to be a table here for the quest.
Yep, and it's just a null spot. I just noticed, like, wait, it's gone now. All right, so up here in the shed, this is my favorite door in the game. It is a very, very, very thick door with 2005 like graphics on it.
It's perfect.
It's not like your new age door. Yeah,
it's perfect. This is the exact door, except it's diagonally placed in the Fisher realm. And the best part about the Fisher realm, honestly, is that I just have to go there, because people are not gonna go to that Whale Cold One cast. Although you guys should check that out. Check that one out. That one's actually a classic. I'm gonna go to what is it? BJR.
I don't remember the fairy ring for this offhand.
BJR. Come over here.
Yeah, I don't use this Iron Man method of transportation.
Just come up here to this castle. See, all they've updated a lot of new stuff. Okay, like every door looks normal. Blah blah blah. This looks great. Okay, they updated some of the graphics, and then you go up here.
Just this one door.
Oh wait, it's not the diagonal. It's just one door. They didn't fix.
Yep.
Just
There he is.
the chunk door. Fuck, I thought it was a
Best door.
diagonal for some reason. I was mistaken. Yeah, just great. That all doors need to be replaced by that. Like, come on.
I agree. Like, this is a soundproof door right here. This door, like, it's got cracks in the middle and everything. Like, air can get through. This thing, no one's hearing this.
You could heavy ballista this, and you wouldn't hear a sound. Yeah.
So you could hand cannon this thing at full force with a spec, and you wouldn't hear shit.
such a dope door, man. Please revert. Also, I'm just seeing these chairs here. I'm like, are we ever going to be able to sit in OSRS? Like, I know that's not really a big issue, but like, it's a little thing. Like, there's scenery around here. Why can't we sit on a fucking chair? We can't even sit on the marble chairs at our POH, dude. It's so bad.
You can sit on chairs in your POH, just not all chairs.
Yeah, not
most
the marble
chairs,
ones. Or I think it's the marble and the onyx ones or whatever.
There's an onyx chair?
I don't know. Isn't there? What is that onyx thing?
I don't know.
Let me look.
I don't know. I haven't really decked up my house fully yet.
Let me go to the construction.
Been dragging our feet.
It's in the garden for sure, right? Yeah, obsidian garden bench. Decoration only. Yep. So the marble and the obsidian one. They just made it so you can't sit on it. Like, this is... You guys are...
Yeah, it's bogus.
That's bad. So, yeah, fun little tour. But I love those jank doors. I'm a huge fan of them.
If they ever get rid of those doors, I will probably quit the game.
Oh, yeah. Never touch those.
This is your final warning and only warning.
Okay, let me ask you this, though. What is an update that you would want to see in Old School? You know, just something that either content or just quality of life, something that you've always wanted, if you can think of it off the top of your head.
At this point, like, I can't even think of anything more that I want, like, in the game. Like, if you asked me this, like, 3 or 4 years ago, I'd probably have, like, a proper answer for it. Right now, I can't really think of anything that I want that would make me, like, super excited to play unless it's, like, a limited game mode, like Deadman or, like, Leagues. Like, that's where all my interest lies now. Like, I've become a limited Andy, like a lot of other people.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, I wouldn't want more of those because it detracts the charm. It makes it feel less special. Like, I feel like the pace we have right now, where we get 1 Leagues, 1 Deadman a year is, like, sweet spot. You know, and then of course Deadman Allstars is like a little side bonus, like a little treat. As far as like just content itself, though, like for main game purposes, I'll come back to that. We'll round back to that one in like an hour when I think of something.
We
at
do
the
need.
moment, I'm drawing a blank.
We do need to talk about Deadman All-Stars, but before that, just because you brought it up about, you know, that would bring you back to the game, something like a temporary mode. Listen, this wouldn't actually be temporary, but did you hear about the World of Warcraft has done something similar to this, but T-Papa brought it up in the Tasty T-Papa cast, and he said, we need a hardcore main mode on a separate server. So you have entirely separate worlds, and those, obviously the number of worlds would depend on how popular this mode is, but it's a permanent new mode that everybody on there has 1 life, but you're all mains. You can trade freely. You can boss together. You can use the Grand Exchange. There's a brand new fresh economy, but every single person on there has 1 life. And I'm going to do this where I'm going to illustrate a few things that would be exciting about it, because sometimes me just saying that, it doesn't get the point across. But imagine everything's dangerous to the point of hardcore group Iron Man danger. So Chambers is dangerous. You know, obviously Wilderness is dangerous. Everything is dangerous. Think about the Wilderness, for example. Think about the absolute fear and just stress of entering the Wilderness, knowing everybody out there has 1 life. So it's not just this guy that's constantly crystal bow ragging you. No. If you kill somebody, they're gone from the game. You've jacked all their shit. They're gone. Imagine the clans that would try to dominate the Wilderness. Imagine those clan wars, how strategic they'd have to be. And then imagine as well Theater of Blood. You're in the Theater of Blood. You finally pimped out your account after months and months of grinding, trying to get that scythe to swap over to the main game for fucking 30 bill. And one of your teammates dies, and instead of going to the cage, he's wiped from the fucking server. Just gone.
So I've had this idea for like a while, like a main mode, and it's permadeath as
Yeah.
well. So like not you become an Iron Man. No, your account is wiped. It is deleted entirely from the game.
Yep.
And I like wanted something like this. I probably would have fun with this, and that might like revive my joy for the game a little bit. And I kind of like the idea of like a separate server, kind of like Fresh Start World, as you said. Like I've been against like Fresh Start World just in general because it's just like what's the point? It seemed like a cheesy cash grab attempt. But with the idea of like there's not pre-established PKers in the wilderness and like full Bugatti max, you know.
Yeah.
Now it's like everyone is on the same footing, and like let's say somebody does get to full Bugatti max, it's not as much of a common occurrence, and if it does, that guy's also risking his life with his full Bugatti max, and like if he dies, that's gone.
Yeah.
That save file is gone as well. That would actually make for some interesting content, because I remember Torvesta and Framed had this little series like a couple of years ago where they made 2 hardcore Iron Man for like a couple of weeks, and they had to fight each other to the death afterwards, and whoever lived got to keep their hardcore, obviously. That would actually there would be like a lot of cool content that could come out of that, I reckon.
Dude, it would be the most exciting game mode ever, in my opinion. I think this would, honestly, I said it on that cast with T-Pop and Tasty, this would be a turning point in Old School, in my personal opinion. I would be so obsessed with a mode like this. Because it's just...
I could see myself getting obsessed with it too.
Dude, it would be crazy. And somebody asked me on stream, they're like, would you want it to be increased XP rates or increased drop rates? I'm like, honestly, no. Because I think there would be charm in potentially, like, for let's just say for those that are just really wanting that super high adrenaline risk of going into the wilderness, you could live this kind of just low level account status. Like, remember back in the day when we were kids, we'd go into the wilderness, just past that yew tree in Varrock, go to that multi-line, and just like, you just have a really shitty account that has Fire Strike basically, or some maple short bow or something, and you're just fighting. Imagine that, but now it's perma death. And so you can kind of make these really just short-term accounts that are just going out in the wilderness. That's one option you could have. And I think there's charm in not just having, we have increased XP rates, and so, you're just going to zoom past that. And then I feel like it's way better to have the normal XP rates, normal item drop rates, so everything feels still very similar to the main game. Just the only caveat is that everybody has one life. And it would appeal to so many people because the swapping rates would be crazy. You could be a skiller, you could be a PVMer, you could be a PKer, you could do any of that. But ultimately, we're all mains, so we can just... That is the other exciting part about it, is that there's now a world where you're not surrounded by a bunch of Iron Men. Everybody's a main. So everybody's on the same... It's just, I don't know. There's something so cool about that. I don't know why. It just sounds so cool knowing every single person on this server is a hardcore main. It just sounds exciting to me.
I don't know. The more we talk about this, the more I kind of just want it in the game.
I know. Oh my god, dude. And the content would be crazy.
Something else, if I could just say really quick.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why I really enjoy the limited game modes is because I enjoy starting a new account, just turboing through progression or just progression in general. My main account right now, there's not really a whole lot to progress. There's 3 boring grinds to get to max if you really want to consider that, and then I'm not interested in pets. I'm not interested in clogging, so there's nothing really linear progression for me to do. With new game modes and new accounts like this, it's really, really exciting. But I've also just had no drive to start a new account in the main game because I'm just But with this mode, that's something different, something brand new, something fresh, and something kind of exciting. Like you said, you get to TOB, imagine you're doing it in a 4-man, and then one of your teammates dies. Imagine that scope. He's just gone from the raid, and now you've got to grieve over him. Wait, we just lost one of our one of our 4-mans for running these. Now what do we do? Yep. Fuck.
And imagine PK attempts at bloat. It's just actually toxic. Or hard mode Tob Zarpus. You're actually a piece of shit for doing that. It's not just your cage and then you're kicking him out of the server.
I think I'm just going to not use Scythe at hard mode Zarpus, I think.
Yeah. Well, nobody would even have a Scythe. It would be so hard to obtain one. I mean, people would have them eventually, obviously, but Those things would go for so much.
Oh yeah.
But
Yeah, I kind of want
knowing,
to play this now.
I know, dude. I've ever since that cast, I've just been fantasizing about how exciting this would be. Every single content creator would be jumping on it. The game mode would be popping. Some people have said in comments, because I even made a special ramble about this, people have been saying, oh, this game mode will be dead in a month. I'm like, honestly, I don't think so. I think this game mode would actually thrive for a long time. That's
Me
what
too.
I
I think it would actually
would.
have some good longevity behind it.
Yeah. I want it so bad.
Think of it like someone dying is also like an item in Gold Sync as well. Like let's say the first T-bow in the game goes to someone and they go take it to the Inferno and they die on like wave 56 or something. That
Yep,
T-bow's gone now. It
it
no
is.
longer exists. There are no longer any T-bows on the server.
Yep.
So like there's always going to be a demand for like pretty much everything in the game, you know? Because stuff will just get cycled out.
Yeah, I was even having this was a discussion that was somewhat resolved on my stream, because one of the things I was thinking of is, okay, maybe it's a bit too punishing for you to die and have everything cleared. Like maybe it would make more sense, if you had membership on the account, maybe to just restart at level 3 Lumbridge and you keep your bank, but everything that was on you and in your inventory was wiped. So
Oh no, I don't think you should keep your bank. I think everything gets wiped, and you have the option to completely restart the account on Tutorial Island with no bank, no stats, no anything. So you're not like wasting an account name or a bond or whatever.
that's
If you're concerned about that.
that is what we ultimately decided on. The only concern, this was my main concern, was that if you have it so you're fully wiped, you will basically never keep anything in your bank. You're going to have a permanent mule, which is great for Jagex, because that means every single person playing this mode, if they're going to do anything dangerous, is just going to have a permanent mule that is their bank, which means that is an annoyance. Like that's like a tedious thing to have to do, but ultimately it was the thing that we decided on, because the confusion and the limitations and all this weird stuff, this jumble of keeping your bank potentially at the end of a death, just doesn't make any sense. Like for example, if you got some untradeable item, if you got like 100 Tob cape and then all of a sudden you're reset to level 3 and it's still in your bank, it's just like, what? Like, why do you have this? And what happens to your collection log and all that? Like, it's just a bunch of weird shit to deal with. So what we ultimately decided on was, yeah, it should just be a full-on wipe, restart, level 3.
I think that as well. Like I get the idea of like, yeah, people will just mute it, but that also takes out a lot of the overcomplication of you keeping all the items in your bank, and like you said, having a 100 KC top kip in your bank, but you have 0 KC, for example. And there's probably a lot of stuff that could be abused as well, where like you go back in time with like a quest item or something that you shouldn't have previously.
Yeah.
So I need T-Pop here to think of these kind of things, because he'll come up with 10 of them on the spot. It's like, oh, this could be so abusable. So it just simplifies things, and like if you want to like pay to play and like go through the process of literally muling everything, and anytime you want even like a super attack potion, you have to log into the mule and trade it. It just gets super inconvenient.
Yeah.
So like if you want to inconvenience yourself, yeah, go ahead, do it.
Yeah.
Muling in dead mode like that if you're gonna mule heavy.
Yeah, no, I think that it's pretty much the only way, is to just have it very much everything is wiped. Collection log's wiped, everything's wiped. You're a brand new account, but you can just replay again if you want.
Yep. And keep the name, keep the membership you've got, so you don't have to transfer it over or anything.
Yeah. Oh my god, this mode would go so crazy.
It's time we start using our influence and make it a reality, huh? I mean,
So I'm
Foe
trying.
and Bodhi did that back in the day when they made Iron Man, no?
Yeah, no, they did. So this is what I'm trying to push this now. So now I got you on board, it sounds like. So now we can both start pushing it. We got a few people pushing it. So
I'm in for it, full percent. I'm listening to him like I would probably get like super addicted to the game again if it existed.
yeah, I would too. I would be absolutely obsessed.
Welcome to the Cold One cast. We've got our first guest on today, Mr. Sae Bae. How you doing?
Doing good. Thanks for having me, man.
Hey, of course, man. Anytime.
So, what made you want to get into podcasting?
There's one guy I know named Sater. He started up a podcast. I'm like, man, this podcast sucks. I'm gonna make a better one.
Pretty easy, honestly. Just it's not a high bar to reach. So for anybody listening, just go for it.
I think what you got going on is pretty good right now.
I
In all
appreciate that.
fairness, your podcast is pretty solid.
Yeah, I mean, really, I don't know. It's definitely not for everybody. And the problem with any sort of podcast is when you have one host. If you don't vibe with that host, or if you're just like, you have a problem with them in any way, it's just basically like, all right, this podcast sucks at this point. But the biggest thing with podcasting, honestly, is just like just being consistent with it. Because I don't know, it's just upload every week, and for the most part, new people will come to it, and it's always going to be those whiners that hate everything I do, hate everything I put out. But there's always the nice people that really do love the content, so I do it for them.
Absolutely. We ignore the hate because nothing positive ever going to come out, and you'll never impress them anyway, so who cares?
Yep. Actually impossible to please them. Jesus. Okay, do you hear this lawnmower on your end? Is it pretty fucking loud? Okay, now it's quiet.
I don't hear anything, no.
Okay, it's just me then. This mic's not picking it up too well. Great. Good.
That's a good... Oh, wait, hang on. I heard something faint there. Wait. Talk again?
Hello? Well, it's not there.
Yeah, I heard it's very, very faint. Like, you have to listen for it.
Okay.
I wasn't noticing it really listen, but I hear like...
Well, it was like very loud earlier. It was just very, very loud, but if it's not picking it up too much, that's good.
Yeah, trust me, it ain't gonna make a world of difference at all.
Okay, good. All right, let's talk about Allstars. Some people that were involved in the Deadman mode Allstars thought that was their peak gaming experience for quite a while. What was your experience with it?
Mine was exactly the same. Like, I still think that was one of the most fun times I've ever had playing the game since, like, Golden Age RuneScape. And I even said that in my tweet, too. Like, and I meant it. Like, this is some of the most fun I've had in, like, 20 years of playing.
It's pretty intense. And it was just a week long, right?
Yep, it's just a week-long social experiment with Deadman on the side.
It's pretty cool. Solo Mission kind of nailed it.
Yeah, he really did. Like, it actually just is every good part of Deadman that we wanted Deadman to be. But unfortunately, it's only reserved for, like, a small group of people, but it can't really work any other way.
Yeah.
So, like, being able to experience it was really, really fucking awesome.
Now, did you stream it the whole time, or were you kind of just doing your offline thing? I wasn't watching too much of it, to be completely honest.
No, so my earlier parts of it, like the first couple of days, I didn't stream anything for the whole idea of... I'm sure everyone knows there's like some level of stream sniping going on. Like, none of the creators were actively like looking at streams, but the problem is when you have like some random chatter jump to another streamer's chat and say, "Hey, you should check out the lesser demons at the Wilderness Slayer cave," and like even if you don't intentionally read that, like once you see it, you can't unsee it, and that caused like a couple of things to like sway the flow of like the tournament in some way. And I prefer to just like not engage with that at all when I'm in really, really remote areas. Like, since I was doing the like 87 Slayer grind, I was slaying in some really, really like unheard of fucking places. And I guarantee you, if I was live, I would have been hit at one of those places more than 0 times, like I was.
Yep, that would have happened.
I'd just rather not. But like once I got to the point of where I'm grinding chambers, I just threw up the stream twice for it, because I can just have like either Oda or Reese like escort me out, or I can do the trick where I just like log out in the raid, log back in, and spam teleport, or just entangle, run around a statue, and be fine. Like, at that point, it doesn't matter. Like, I'm not dying at that point. I'm not getting caught out in a really, really weird spot at that point, you know?
Do you think more of these events should happen, like these creator events?
Absolutely. And they were a really, really good show for viewer perspective. A lot of people really enjoyed them.
Yeah, I feel like it's the peak. It sucks for those that obviously can't get involved in it, but the viewer experience is so good. And you got your teams you're rooting for. And honestly, the only thing, well, I think because it was a first time kind of experiment, like, let's see how this goes, and they nailed it. I think now there really should be some huge prize pools. Like, I know obviously it was like an uncapped prize pool, just whatever you put in, you're going to get out. and vice versa. But it's like I really want those stakes to be much higher the next time around, just because I don't know, it would be just make it a little bit more exciting. It could still be hidden, but there should be like a minimum sort of amount maybe, besides just 0. And
I think the formatting we had for the prize pool was perfect, honestly.
I
We got
guess
some good memes out of it. I think it was Torvesta's team only put in a bill, and then Foe's team put in like 36 bill.
yeah, that was crazy. I think, yeah, you know what? Actually, maybe you're right. Maybe it is perfect the way it is, and maybe inevitably the next times they do this, the stakes will just be much higher. You know, people will be more confident in their strategies and everything, and just I don't know, just something about like I want those chests to just be loaded. Like I want it to be so exciting opening them. I'm glad Foe's team like went crazy on it. Everybody else kind of seemed to not trust their team too well.
I remember with my bet, I trust my team, but I was like, I only really have a mill to fuck around with, a bill to fuck around with, so I'll just throw that in.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't gonna go selling my gear or anything like that. I'll just throw in like whatever extra liquid cash I got laying around. The hell with it. And if we win, sweet, make some money.
Yeah. Who was it that donated the most in Foe's team? Was that Foe himself, or just got donated, or who dumped the 30+ bill?
I want to say it was Mazar. You can quote me if I'm wrong, or don't quote me if I'm wrong. You can call me out for being wrong, but I'm like 99% sure it was Mazar that put in the bulk of the money for that.
Okay. And you don't lose it all for those that weren't watching. It's just you'd only lose as much as the other people are willing to risk.
Exactly. So I think they only lost like
5 bill,
5 bill or
yeah.
something like that out of the 36. So he just got most of it back.
Yeah, that's a pretty good way to go about it. What was so? Were there any flaws in it, like things that you would want revised for next time?
The changes I think were already talked about. A lot of people were very on board with the idea of this. Being able to get ancient warrior weapons and equipment from breaches should only happen in that tournament if you're skulled. Like going in there unskulled is incredibly safe because all you have to do is just get a free soak and you can teleport to safety out of a very dangerous area of like multi-breach. However, if you're skulled, that changes like a lot of things because now you're not able to like freeze DD teleport out. You've got that 7-second timer on you because you're skulled. So like you can't escape on freeze DD because someone can just plant a seed and get out. It cuts off like a lot of your escape options in a sense. And like you should be able to like willing to risk more if you want to be able to get these good rewards because otherwise you can just farm them like super duper duper safely and like much more secure your win that way. And it creates kind of like a toxic environment in a sense.
I see.
I think that was like the main change that like a lot of us wanted.
Is there any other ones that you thought personally?
That was the main one. Like, as far as like overall gameplay, overall flow of the event, everything felt fine. I think there's been talks of removing like the delay on leaving like instances like TOA if you leave in the Dead Man world. There's like I think 1.2 seconds or 0.6 seconds where somebody can get a teleblock on you before you get the chance to teleport. And they're talking about getting rid of that, and I don't think that should happen. I think that's like a risk you should take and something you should be ready for when you leave a raid is like an encounter with another player, whether you're going, well, most likely you're just going to escape them anyway. And there's a bank right there at both of those anyway, so. Like, it kind of retracts from like the spirit of like the game mode of Deadman, which entices like player versus player fighting. Even if you are farming a raid at the time, you should be ready to engage with another player when you are done with that raid. I feel. So
And
I don't think that
banks.
change should go personally. Yeah, there is banks where you can bank fight, and if you watch Bodhi stream during Deadman, there were quite a few Chambers of Zarek bank fights going on where he was like trying to tank, get the freeze, and escape. And those are some intense moments to watch. And if you just make that change, it gets rid of all of them, and it makes the game mode incredibly stale and more math based.
That's true. How was the finale? The 5 or the 1v1s, the little lineup and stuff. How did you enjoy that?
Oh, that was so much fun. I'm kind of disappointed because my performance is not exactly where I wanted it to be for like half the fights. The other half, I feel like I did well, but the formatting of like just the 1v1s itself was amazing. I think I might have done better if we had 8 teams going into it instead of 6 teams with like 2 teams getting a bye based on like performance. Like that was the only way that could have worked, and I think that was done. But I think it would have been a lot smoother if we had like 8 teams for a double elim bracket as well. But overall, I think it was really, really well put together and well done. Big props to Solo Mission for just everything that Deadman Allstars was.
Yeah, that was crazy. I really like those 1v1s. It was dope. I wonder, I don't know like what server you guys were playing on, because I feel like, I mean, the only times I ever PK is just LMS, and it's just every single, I think that's part of the reason I just have kind of this bad taste in my mouth toward PKing, because anytime I'm PKing, I'm never on the world I need to be on for good ping. Just like I'm constantly having to anticipate every single thing I do, every switch. I'm having to like do a 4-way switch and click the player before my dude's done. It's just like everything is anticipation, and that's annoying. It's so much nicer to have like really good ping. How was that for your experience? And what server were you guys even on? I'm assuming like UK.
It was an East server that we were on, actually.
Oh, okay.
Well,
That's
and
perfect for
even
you.
Perp was like having good switches. I was watching his fight. He was pulling off like, perfect switches into freezes.
Oh shit.
But
Okay.
he's also much more seasoned, like with singles PKing and stuff.
I guess there's also very, 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 very low pop on there on that world. That's probably great. Usually PKing
Yeah,
on an
that's
LMS
another
world
pretty
with
cool
1,200
fact.
people. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's like another good factor. Toss it to it. There's only 30 people in this world.
Yeah, that's pretty
That's a
dope.
pretty good one.
Are you going to be playing Dead Man mode? What's this one called? I can't even remember.
Armageddon, I think. It begins with A. Yeah,
Oh,
Armageddon.
yeah,
That's it.
that's it.
Hmm.
Are you
Yeah,
going
I'll
to be
be
playing
playing
it?
this one when it comes out. Yep.
Yeah,
I'll be playing with the same squad I did the last time. Just we're not like a clan where we actually came up with this name yesterday. Like we're not a clan. We're just more like a little gang, little gaggle of goons.
little gang, not a gang, cult, or religion. Yeah, as Fat Clouds would say.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, perfect. That's actually the perfect
yeah.
comparison. Yeah, we're not a gang cult of religion. We're just a gaggle of goons.
Yeah. Oh my god. So you do, like you were saying earlier, you kind of like these things where they're just like once a year ish. It keeps the hype maintained. But with an All Stars, do you think it would be better to maybe make it twice a year or something, or do you think the once a year is still
No,
good enough?
once a year is perfect. Just like
Okay.
a month out from the main event itself, or like month and a half. Yeah, month out. Perfect. So it's like close enough to like maintain the hype and get everybody like prepared for it. Kind of like how they do teases for like Trailblazers last year. How it was like a couple weeks out and they were like just drip feeding us like little leaks and stuff.
Yeah. What do you like better, leagues or Deadman mode?
So I played leagues for longer because the progression is there, but I enjoyed Deadman like a lot more just because
Mm.
it's more of a competitive feel and it's more exciting than leagues is. And other people will like think differently, but like I don't get me wrong, I love the fuck out of leagues. It's a great game mode, but Deadman just makes me more excited than leagues ever will.
Would you ever? I feel like this is almost out of the question at this point, and I'm not a leagues player anyway. I've been just chronically playing this Iron Man for 7 years. Although I will be playing a hardcore group Iron Man for the first time at the end of this month, which I'm very excited for. But
Oh boy.
yeah, that'll be a journey for sure. Just God, playing early game after 7 years is gonna be painful, but I'm excited. But do you think there will ever be a chance to have a main account league where people can freely trade and boss with each other and things like that? Do you think the community would even want that at this point? Or do you think it's always until the end of time going to be Iron Man based?
No, even from me, someone that does not like the Iron Man game mode anymore, I think League should still just be kept to Iron Man for the same formatting purposes. It gives it that special charm.
Okay.
Because otherwise, you could just like content creators. Like this is a very very rare case where just certain content creators can just be fed every single item to progress the game mode a lot faster, and like that comes to be expected in Deadman mode, and like that's where that kind of thing should stay. But even then, like it just makes it feel like an accelerated main mode, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
And that's kind of boring.
I think
Not a big fan of that.
yeah, I mean, I think part of the reason I'm even suggesting it, not necessarily I'm advocating for it. I don't really care, and I'm not involved in it enough to even have my voice heard, honestly. But it seems like because they made default thresholds for the trophies, it's no longer like, oh, somebody's going to get scammed out of their dragon trophy because some guy, swapped over a bunch of GP and just use some alts or whatever to help them out. I just think the game mode could be more exciting. Like a league's could be slightly more exciting if you sort of, quote unquote, coxify it, where Coxie, does his main hunting method, and he has a bunch of alts going and all these other like crazy methods. I just think leagues could be slightly more interesting potentially with a main mode, and nobody's really getting the people that are competing for rank 1, you would have to swap, you'd have to do some crazy shit, but that would ultimately be kind of exciting, but nobody's going to get scammed out of their trophies because there would just be thresholds.
I wasn't even going to bring like going for rank 1 into consideration. I was not even going to look at that point because it's not exactly as like relatable or digestible. But even so, I think it's just like the spirit of like the game mode is like it's based around like self-sufficient play and like your own sense of progression, and if you're able to just like skip pieces of progression by just like having your buddy give you, let's say, an occult necklace or something, or imagine for Trailblazer as well. Think about this: how does that work in Trailblazer? You didn't pick Fremennik, but your buddy trades you over a Berserker ring.
Because people really love the area locks as well, right? So those probably won't be leaving anytime soon either.
Yep. I think next one, I'm not saying this because it's a leak. I'm just having a little bit of a hunch, and my hunch is usually right. I think Leaks 5 is going to be Zaya and Varlamore based once Varlamore is fully completed.
Yes.
Is there a part 3 of Varlamore, or is it only 2 parts?
There's part 2 and part 3, so probably won't be next year.
So part 3 is going to be coming out, and then we will get the announcement for Leagues 5. Twisted League Retwisted, or something. I don't know. Please don't use that name. It's so bad. If any of the JMods are listening, do not call it Retwisted.
Retwisted.
It was like Trailblazer Reloaded, but we can call it Twisted League Retwisted.
No, we should call it Twisted.
I don't know, man.
They should call it Twisted.
Twister. Retwister.
All right.
We're harping on this too much.
Let's talk about this topic from Maze asking, what type of boss / mechanics would you like to see added to the game? Could be a new raid or boss.
This is like another one I have to go back as well and like think about. Because you're asking me like what I want added to the game, and I can't think of anything that I would want personally added to the game. This is like another one I have to like sit and think about, like what could be like a cool mechanic. So we got like a really interesting one with the soul fight in Coliseum recently, where he calls out a piece of gear and you have to click on it in your equipment screen. That's the first time that kind of thing's been done. I think it's pretty cool.
Well, that's actually how I'm going to expand this question a little bit, because I believe, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure your favorite raid is Theater of Blood, right?
Yeah, that's a pretty good guess. Yeah, you're spot on with that one.
So for future raids, raids 4 that's coming out, like, what do you want to see? Do you want to see a TOA 2.0 where you're just invocating this thing? Or do you want a more default sort of TOB style, just bosses, no puzzle bullshit? Like, what are your whole thoughts on a Raids 4 coming out, even if it's just a few shower thoughts?
Oh yeah, exactly that. Like, no puzzles, just straight bosses, like, as a raid kind of should be. Like, Chambers is like, the puzzles, but like half of them are still combat anyway. And the puzzles that you do get are like really quick. Aside from thieving, we won't talk about that one. But like, it's mostly just monsters. It's mostly just fighting that happens in Chambers. If you want to do prep, you can, like, it does have the skilling aspect there of farming and herblore as an option, not required, but like still there. And TOA just gives you 4 puzzles and one that. Yeah, we're going to talk about TOA too much. But like, TOB just like kind of nailed it, because like a lot of stuff that happens in TOA is like scripted and developer intended for you to solve it in a certain way. TOB, like when it came out, like the Nihilakis waves are much more like solved and like fine-tuned today to be like much more efficient. If you want to go for like a 252 trio waves or something like that, you can work towards that. Where like when TOB was released, even after like the waves changes where it's like more static waves and not random waves like it was on release, for those who remember, Jagex didn't like tune that to be like, okay, this is going to come out here, these two are going to converge and create a good like barrage point or anything. That's like mostly just for solo, for like some openers that like me and Duroc have. But like, that wasn't designed. No one like said, okay, this is going to work exactly like this is the perfect way to solve this. They just kind of threw it in there and expected the players to solve it, Yep. Even like the Nihilakis at Maiden, like, yeah, there is like a barrage clump, but they left us like that to be figured out. Like, what's the most optimal way to do this,
Yep. Do you think
it's TOA, like, everything's just all done for you?
It is so interesting because, like, you're right. There's something really beautiful about that discoverability, like being able to discover the mechanics, figure out the metas, and when everything's too scripted, it's just not as exciting. It just feels like, okay, follow the script. But it feels almost like a trap that the devs fall into, where you almost want it to be a little bit more scripted, so it's a little bit more, like, in their eyes, polished or something, where ultimately, like, the best fights in this game are, like, I don't know, Zarpus, for example. Zarpus is just fucking shoot acid at you and screech, and it's just so few mechanics, yet the rhythm of it and the flow of it is so cool because the players discover it, and because we're playing with a rhythmic game, things just work out kind of organically. It's the same thing with like P2 Verzik, P3 Verzik, even doing that whole butterfly Verzik thing. Like, that looks dope. And these things can just be discovered, and they don't have to be mapped out. Like, you're not forced to do this, but you can make it this way. I don't know. I just think that's such a better way to go about it, but it is hard, I'm imagining, in the devs' perspective, to create something like that. I don't know.
I think like the less effort they put into it, the better it ended up turning out. Because like look at Chambers for example. Like Ohm's fight, as at its core, is one of the most basic functionalities possible. There's 2 special attacks per phase that are on a timer for when they can come out again. And Ohm turns to look at players, like, based on their position in the room. And there's 2 hands that you attack. And then you convert that to solo, and the evolution for what a solo raid has become over the past several years, since it was, like, in its very primitive state. Like, we all know, like, the rare Wook's Twistable clip. Like, those early, raids, when, like, Wook's realized you can run around the room and take 0 damage from Ohm. And the smile that crept up on his face when he discovered that, it was like, that was groundbreaking at the time.
Yep.
And originally, like, the raid was designed to not be soloable, and the devs hadn't thought of, like, this possibility. Maybe someone, like, in the team did think about that and just didn't say anything. Like, nope, we're just going to wait for players to find this out themselves. And that's what makes a piece of content more interesting.
Yeah, and I actually agree. I think the way to make this is my personal opinion. First of all, I like invocations, but not for a endgame raid. I think invocations should come from things like, not exactly Moons of Peril, but something on that line where it's kind of more mid to late game, and you can kind of pimp it out. So you're not getting the best pieces of gear from this thing. I think, honestly, end raids, like raids 4, need to be gate kept by your gear and by your coordination with team members, and not just something where you can jump in and, I don't know, just turn down the invocation down. I still am a fan of entry modes. I think Tob did it really well, where, like, on release of Raids 4, this is what I would want to see. Just, you have normal mode and challenge mode, and then entry mode comes like a month later or something. So the hype is all there. The world first completion is still a very, very hype moment. The expert, or the challenge mode completion is there maybe from the get-go. Or maybe that could come later once they've kind of like nailed out all the kinks and stuff. The challenge mode could come later. But something where it's just one default mode. And so Tob nailed it with that. And then on top of that, I think the value of having a system like this is that the uniques don't have to be super, super rare. They just have to, like, it's just a matter of like completing the raid. So the purples could be very common, like probably the most common out of any raid, but because it's so difficult to complete, they're going to hold their value. Whereas TOA, it just seems like light bearers are 1 mil, because every single person level 60 and above can just go in here and just farm purples. And it's just it's way more accessible.
I think one of the biggest problems like TOA is like how the reward scales. Well, I don't think it's the entry modes causing the problem for the amount of purples in the game. It's the higher ends. It's the fact that there are free-for-all 8-man 400s going on like many worlds, and the odds of getting a purple from that, I think it's like 50% or something like that, from like a 20-ish minute raid or 25-ish minute raid. Like, that's the one that's the problem. Not so much the entry modes, but like entry mode still should not give you a chance of reward either. Like, there was that one photo I remember, some Ultimate Iron Man doing a duo 0 invocation, and on his first fucking raid, he got a shadow. Like, granted, that is a 1 in an astronomically high number chance of happening, but that should not happen in the first place. And then the 400 invocation thing, like, that shouldn't happen in the first place. Well, I don't think the reward chance should scale that fucking high.
Well, I
or
guess
something in comparison
I
to norm.
I agree with you because I've also just had that same argument toward people that think that's where all the purples are funneling from is people doing entry modes. It's not what I really am saying. It's just the fact that you can so easily build up to a level 400 that now there's just so many people that can do 400s, but they weren't able to just jump in and okay, your first ever raid, you're doing a 400. That, in my opinion, and this might be an elitist view, that's not my intention whatsoever. It's just the fact that raids should be very difficult, and it should be a hype moment to be able to complete a raid that's supposed to be end game. And I know Jagex has this sort of competing thing where they want every player to be able to do all content because it means there's going to be more players playing and everything. But again, this is my ideal world, is just like the raids are difficult to complete, and I don't know, it's kind of being gate kept by your gear and by your ability to actually like perform. And so I don't know. I think that's what really killed the value of things. It's just everybody can learn TOA at their own pace, and that's just something I think is not optimal for a end game raid. But again, I don't think it'll ever happen. I really hope they don't introduce invocations to another raid, although they are quite incentivized to do that because again, every single player can just join in, and it just seems like the content is bussin' because every single fucking player is playing it. But it's just, it devalues these very, very end game items and it makes them all cheap. And then the only way to counteract it is to make the purples super fucking rare, which is annoying. And people want to see purples. Like, purples are fun, but
Yeah,
it's a tough thing to balance.
Yeah, man. Like, the one thing I will say I do like about the TOE invocation system is like the social aspect. Like, you set up a party, and the question comes, "Is mine the gap on?"
It's true. It's true.
And now you have this little social experiment going on where there's like, no, it's not on, but do you believe him?
Yeah. Seriously, they just change it like last second. I've seen some streamers trolling with that, like setting up weird invocations right before. Like everyone checks it, they change it. Who?
I remember Mason did that a while ago.
Oh, yeah.
Mason, E-Virgin.
Yeah,
We were like doing a couple of raids, like it's Will, Clipper, like 8-man 300s, like back in the day, like around the time of release. And we had Mine the Gap off, and he turned it on for one raid and we killed 3 people.
So fucked up.
We gave him a warning. It was just like 2 ticks before the push. You just like gap, and whoever got it in time got it in time.
See, that's the kind of shit that would be amazing in a hardcore main mode separate server, is doing a stunt like that. Dude, they fall down the gap. They can't even rage at you because they're permanently removed from the server.
Yeah, they'll just have Discord DMs, but they won't be in game unless they reset their account, and then you'll get them.
Yeah. Actually, you know what? You know what'd be really cool is if on that mode your death animation lasts like 3 times as long, so you actually can like type your final goodbye message if you want to. So you're just the animation is just slower than normal. That'd be great. They need to do that.
I'm actually in for that. Wait, that's actually so cool. Write that down.
Yeah. They need to make it longer because if you only have one, just a few ticks like the normal death thing, you're not going to be, the deaths aren't going to be as great. We got to see we don't want to just see the plea messages. We want to see something a little bit more thought out. So that would be great.
Yeah, the only thing more important is like what happens when you die is what you say when you die. What are your actual final words? Exactly. You got to make them count.
Ooh, you know what? If you do, so you know how you would spawn back as level 3? What there should be is well, first of all, there should be world announcements when people die. I think that would be great as long as you hit a certain threshold. But on top of that, you should have like an examine option on people's names. So if they did make an account, well, I don't know. I don't know if this is really necessary, but it would be kind of cool to have like an examine option of like what they last said, what their last message was before they died, their previous death. Actually, that could be abused.
No, we're tangenting a fair bit into this. I think we just like got this in the mind. We just like want to play it too much.
I know. Okay, let's talk about. Okay, I'm looking at these topics. Is there any that pop out to you? I don't know if you're on the thread, but
yeah, I mean, we'll peek-a-poo at it. Hang on.
Oh, actually, I have a great one here. Jaravit asks, why do you, because then you do that and then you are that because when do is that win forever? Question
Yeah.
mark.
Yeah.
I agree.
I thought we were gonna avoid the stroke title one. I see one for like Deadman All Stars, but we talked about Deadman All Stars a little bit. Yeah, the one above it from Ilby. I hope I did not mispronounce that. How is the perception of Old School RuneScape at GDQ? Were many people familiar with it? As a former Iron Man, how well are you enjoying the game these days? And is there anything you miss from the game mode? So the perception of Old School at GDQ. There's a fair few people that don't play that like knew of RuneScape in some capacity and like have memories of it. And they thought it was pretty cool to see like its end game portrayed on stage because they haven't played in forever since the days of like high school or whatever, or middle school, whenever the hell you played it in its olden days, like it's pre 2007 days or whatever. And it was cool for them to see like what's become of it, like what's happened with it, and for it to like still be around and get some representation. There was a couple of people there that actually played it as well. That thought it was really cool that actually got on there. Like, oh, I'm grinding right now on mobile. I remember like seeing one guy in the elevator. He was fishing carom wands on his fucking iPad as we are going up the elevator. It's like the grind actually just does not stop.
Giga Chad.
Yeah, actual chat activity. So, yeah, I think the reception of it was overall positive at GDQ, even from people who like don't play it like at all. So that was pretty awesome. And then the second part of the question is former Iron Man. I enjoy it when like we get new releases. Like I enjoyed it when Coliseum came out. I enjoyed it when we got Desert Treasure 2, when we get Deadman, when we get Leagues. I enjoy it, but I don't really have like a reason to play. I think we talked about this before. How like I don't really have any goals playing this game anymore. Whereas like if you're an Iron Man, the game is like much longer, and you have like goals that you can still strive for. Like let's say you're missing a mega rare or something. Like you're still missing that T-bow from Chambers. You can still grind on that. You know.
Yeah, and
that's like one example.
It's hard to, I don't know, with the amount of hours some of these grinds are, it just becomes like not worth it. So the Iron Man playstyle really is for peak addiction. That's where Iron Man really hits.
Yeah,
it's hard.
And I was in my peak addiction when I played mine. And I got everything. I finished everything. Like at the time, I was armed to the teeth. Like
you were
full Chambers completion, full Cobb completion.
One of the Iron Man goats. I remember watching back then.
I had that Ellie too. That shit was kind of clutch for solo Tob as well. I was like, I had the perfect Iron Man account to do it.
And you'd open your fucking caskets on Intrana. That pissed me off to no end.
Oh yeah, stay mad, stay mad.
Oh, I will endlessly.
Yeah, and I remember doing that too. It also like warps like how you play because like no main account is ever going to do that ever. But I was like one of the few Iron Man accounts that had like purpose for doing it. Aside from just like, get pages for the book, which the books are irrelevant anyway. And like you'll passively get pages. I don't really miss the mode that much. Like I enjoy the game and I enjoy it, but I don't think it's like because of anything to do with Iron Man. I think it's just my genuine like general interest in the game. That's all.
Okay, here's a nice little question from Rhino. What's your favorite burger? Let me change this. Burger place.
Okay. I think like with a lot of people I've had discussion on like fast food places and like which ones are good, which ones are bad, or like which chain restaurants like make a good burger. Like, where do we place the modern diner burger in the tier list? I put that one in C tier, honestly. But as far as like my favorite type of burger, so it's not Five Guys. Five Guys I think is overrated. We'll get that out the way right now. Like it's a good burger, but it's overrated and over fucking priced.
I wouldn't even say it's overpriced at this point because every bit of food has just skyrocketed. Like food in general is just so much more expensive. So
fast food in general is way too expensive for just no reason.
It's so dumb. It's because people pay for it. Oh, damn it. Gotta go on strike.
I'm gonna tangent from this for like 2 seconds just to like maul and complain a little bit, and probably other people can like relate with me on this one. So several months back, I went to McDonald's for the first time. Like I had McDonald's maybe once a year. It's my least favorite fast food place, like if not one of them. But once in a while, you get that like urge, like I really need some McDonald's fries right now. It's like people could probably have this like White Castle or something, or like some really shitty fast food restaurant. But like once in a while, you're like, you know what? I want to fuck my shit up. I want to have like a Big Mac. I want to have 4 like White Castle sliders or something. And I was hankering for that. So pull up in the drive-thru. It's like, yeah, I'll get a quarter pounder with cheese. Yeah, let's make it a large meal. Let's be extra fat today. And like, throw me some 10 chicken nuggets in the meal too. It was like $19 for a burger, fries, and chicken nuggets. I was like, this is McDonald's. Why is it this much? What happened?
It's
Like, that's just
ridiculous.
unreasonable. Like, dude, I could have gone to literally like a mom and pop shop that sells food like 3 buildings down and gotten the same thing for cheaper and more volume and better quality. Like,
Yeah.
straight up, it would have taken time to wait for him. Like, what is this?
It's so obnoxious. Dude, back in the day, I grew up in Oregon, so there was no sales tax. And for $3.50, I could get a McChicken, 2 McDoubles, and a fucking dipped cone.
The good old
$3.50.
days of the dollar menu. The
Dude,
dollar menus doesn't exist anymore. Now it's the value menu, where McChicken's like $3 or something.
I know.
I'm like,
Okay,
bro, what has happened?
people that listen to every cast are probably sick of me saying this, but I have to say this. The most offensive thing I've seen, just overpriced garbage, is, well, one, it's a little bit marked up, probably by like 10 or 15% because it's on DoorDash. But when you browse Chipotle on DoorDash, they have a large chips and queso, which is just like fucking 50 tortilla chips and a scoop of their cheese sauce. $11.
I'm gonna pull up
11
Grubhub.
$11 for a fucking pile of tortilla chips that cost them 2 pennies and a scoop of cheese.
All right, so you said just tortilla chips and cheese.
Yeah. It's just
You
like,
can do
dude,
killed with your own.
why is it $11? And the worst part is like, I know why it's $11 because people fucking pay for
I
it.
see it right here. Large chips and large queso blanco, $10.40. Live right now on Grubhub at this very second. That is obnoxious.
God. That is out of control.
And that's not even including the fees of having it delivered to you, too. This is just the baseline price on the website.
Yeah, on DoorDash it's more expensive. Let me make sure I'm thinking, because I want to say it was $10.95, but now I need to know. Maybe it is $10.40. Let's see.
All right.
Yeah,
So I'll
this
answer
is
the
for
dude's
science.
question because we
Yeah.
tangent a little bit about my favorite burger. It
Mhm.
is from a smaller chain of restaurants called All American, and there was one out in Massapequa in Long Island in Nassau County. The double double they have on that menu, 10 out of 10 burger, perfect burger, amazing burger for fast food burger.
It's called what? What was the place?
All American.
Oh, I've never been there.
Hmm. Yeah, it's a very small chain. Like I think it's indigenous mostly to New York, but
It's the perfect
some
burger.
of the best burger. The fries are all right. It is like in my eyes the perfect burger, juicy. Yeah, it's fatty, but you expect it out of like a fast food place. But it's perfect. Everything about it is perfect.
You know what I think is a really perfect burger? And the reason it's perfect is because it's a really great value too, in my opinion, is In-N-Out. I don't have In-N-Outs here. Their fries suck, their shakes suck, but their burger is great. And it's like $5 for a double patty burger that's fresh as fuck and piping hot every time. I'm a huge
So I actually had
huge fan.
In-N-Out
Yeah.
for the first time at TwitchCon, and I can agree. Like the burgers are good. Like I understand the hype behind it, but like I think the fries are good. How are you saying the fries are bad? I like their fries.
For some reason, every time I've had their fries, they're too like almost like chalky. Like there's something off about it. I don't know. Maybe not chalky is the right word. It just tastes like mildly stale. I don't know. I just was not a fan
Maybe you
of
had a
it.
bad batch.
Yeah.
Maybe
I never
you had
get
10
them
bad batches
anyway.
in a row.
Yeah, I mean, I just
But
don't get
I
their
can say
fries
the burger's
anymore.
good.
I don't even have an In-N-Out near me though. It's like the closest one's like an hour away, but I love it.
Yeah, mine's on the other side of the country. Unfortunately, they're not really indigenous to the East Coast, so I
Yeah.
can enjoy. I will say the burgers are good, but I can taste why people think they're bad. Like I could taste preservatives in every bite I took of the burger, but I was loving every bite. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Your palate is. Sometimes you just got to ignore parts of your palate, you know.
Hmm.
Yeah. What about just food? Like, if you were to go out, like, what is like your favorite sort of like place to eat at? Like, is it burgers? Would you prefer pizza, tacos? Like, what are you getting?
It's mostly like region based, so like I'm not really gonna get pizza down in Florida, but if I'm up in New York, I'm getting pizza every which possible opportunity I can get while I'm up there, enjoying it. The pizza down here is like kind of mid
Mm.
at best, so it's not really something I'll pick. The stuff I'll pick down here in Florida is like comfort food. You have to like pick what like the state's strong point is. And down here, we make food that makes you fat, and it tastes really good. So I will always look for comfort food every which way that I possibly can
Yeah,
when I'm down here,
that's fair. The best
and then just go work it off the next day.
the best comfort food here. I mean, I'm in Oregon, so we're not really even known for like anything hardly food wise. But alcohol wise, we got a bunch of different alcohols, but I don't drink. But well, don't drink often. The When I'm thinking of food, I'm always thinking of Dave's Hot Chicken. Some fucking Nashville hot, just coated in seasoning and oil, then dip it in some sauce with some honey on it. That is just my goat. Like that is my go-to goat.
Dude, I wish we had some Nashville hot chicken down here. Like I went up there like twice, like once for when we had like base Tennessee, and then another time for when my sister was graduating as bachelor's. And oh my god, like true Nashville hot chicken with that thick piece of bread underneath to catch like all the spice and sauce and everything.
Oh my god.
Like, oh, it just hits diffy. It's so good.
It does. Do you have a Dave's there? Dave's are pretty national, I feel like.
No, I haven't seen any Dave's
Okay.
down here. I could like look it up and see if
Dude,
there's any. What's it called? The Dave's Chicken?
Just Dave's Hot Chicken.
Because I haven't really seen any near me.
Bro, they are so good. Like it is so you have to put the honey on it though. It's like the key. Like the sauce, their Dave sauce with the honey, with a hot or I always get extra hot tender. Oh my god.
Yeah, you're gonna have to PM me an order. It looks like there's actually 2 locations in Tampa, but I've never seen them before.
Bro, you have to go. You have to.
No, that's like, yeah, not even too far away from me. I could probably take a trip out there.
Yeah,
I
do
really
it.
want to get me some Dave's Hot, but this wouldn't be like a regular thing. Like, oh yeah, I'll get
Oh,
it
of
like
course not. Yeah.
every couple of days. It'd be like I'm gonna plan a little trip for this, you know?
Every couple dude, if you did that every couple of days, like fucking poundage would start adding up. Those things are oh my god, like yeah, it's not great for you to eat that, but it's amazing. Ooh, yeah, no, I'm fucking hungry.
We'll give it a little bit of an exploration. Now we've gone from burgers to chicken. The food scope has changed entirely.
So I guess the future of OSRS, we're coming to a point where probably in the next year and a half, I guess, is when sailing's going to drop. Are you worried? I mean, I know it doesn't sound like you really care that much anyway, but is that something you're even excited for?
I'm not gonna lie, I forgot the sailing was even coming into the game.
A lot
I
of
forgot
us have.
about that shit.
A lot of us have
Yeah.
forgotten.
So I think it goes without saying, like I'm not too big a fan of skilling in general. Like I don't really care for sailing that much. Like it's cool we're getting another skill, but like I was under like not the impression, but I was of the mindset that we really don't need another skill in this game. It's like the game has survived for 11 years without a new skill. Like, why are we gonna try and change that? Like, why not just stay the course? Like RS3, like yeah, like even back in the day, we were getting a new skill like once every year or so in the olden days. Like when we went from, I remember the release of farming too. That was pretty fun. And how like 3 weeks before it came out, you were able to like acquire seeds from monster drops, pickpocketing farmers and stuff like that, and you could build up your foundation beforehand. But I don't think we really need one personally. Like other people obviously disagree with me. Like the sailing guys, be like, gosh, I am sailing love. But like, I just don't really care for another skill. I think what we got going on is pretty good. But it's also going to open up Pandora's box for like potentially other skills into the future. If you like, that's something a lot of people haven't thought about. Like 4 years down the line, what if we end up getting shamanism too, or if we get what was that third choice that nobody voted for? Taming, I think.
Yeah,
Maybe that'll come into the game in some capacity. Hunter too.
dude. Honestly, dude, that was originally before they actually expounded on it. That was my first choice, was taming something. There's something I don't know. I kind of like pets in the game. It would be kind of cool to have your little like Pokédex, fucking Pokemon eyes. This game just make it so you have these little monsters you train up. I think what would be important though, because people have a bad taste of summoning in their mouths. I didn't even play when summoning was a thing, but I don't know. It'd be kind of cool to almost just like replace thralls with some like beast pet that you raised. Like, I don't know. In the next 6 years, like fuck it, I'd be down.
I think it's a class in World of Warcraft where like you tame a monster. I don't really play that game, but I think that exists. Like that's an actual like class that you play. I'm not like a World of Warcraft player in any way, sense, or form. Didn't really get into it like that. But I mean, yeah, it could be like a cool thing, but that also is going to usher in like another fucking obscene sense of power creep. Like thralls are already enough of like power creep, and that's just increasing your DPS by 0.6. And they're seen as one of the biggest forms of power creep that's ever like come into the game.
I still want it.
All right, I guess our DPS going up by 10 now because Sae Bae wants it.
Yeah,
Just write that down in the history book so no, this is Sae Bae's fault from the
thank you.
get-go.
I mean, we are getting an enhanced torture in a little bit. So
yeah, I found out about that yesterday that we're getting that. Like, I don't keep up with anything anymore.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like, oh yeah, we're getting an RS3 boss, a big spider, and Torture Amulet 2.
Yep.
Like, all right, cool.
Torture. I think the Torture 2 is actually a good idea, just because we have a thing like a Blood Fury, and I think the gap between a healing amulet and the best in slot one should have a little bit of a gap. So I'm happy with it personally, because it's just gonna give you that much more of a reason to use that new amulet over the Blood Fury, which I think is,
You know, here's a topic I'm gonna put on you right now because I'm sure you have some strong feelings about it too. The Blood Fury and Blood Shards, and also how hard they are to obtain in an economy. What are your thoughts on the Blood Fury and Blood Shards as they stand right now in the game?
I have two thoughts on this. Actually, way more than that, but two main ones. The first one is Blood Fury should have never been introduced to this game, but we're far past that.
Thank you.
So
fucking thank you.
Yeah.
Please, someone had to fucking say it.
It should have never been introduced to the game. It was a mistake, but because we're here, I need... They need to not make the fucking blood shards so expensive. Or not expensive, so rare to get. They're so rare. Like, this has become an Iron Man chore because the Blood Fury is such, like, it's like an essential now. Like, you want it for so many places, and it's so good at so many places. And I just want you to be able to get blood shards more commonly. So throw them into Theater of Blood, throw them into Fasanis, throw them into these Mauritania places, like, as loot. And on top of that, can we make it so Onyxes can charge the Amulet of Blood Fury too, with maybe 5,000 charges? And can we just seriously increase the drop rates at pickpocketing, Vires, or just this is another tangent in general, but like fundamentally reworking what the fuck pickpocketing is. Why are we failing half the time at 99? Like, well, why is that even a mechanic? Like, can we just... I said this in one of my videos. Can somebody just take a handful of mushrooms and just reimagine what pickpocketing could be? Because I don't know who thought this was a great activity to do. To spam click a thing, fail half the time for 8 fucking hours. That's a full workday of spam clicking and failing half the time to get one blood shard pickpocket. And if you go 5x rate, you're working a 40-hour week of spam clicking your fucking mouse on a computer screen to maybe get a blood shard if you get unlucky. That is out of control. It's out of control. I'm bothered by it.
All right, so you answered like a lot of questions that I would have had on this kind of thing because I don't really keep up with like Iron Man metas or like the scope of like how this item is, like I guess like soft requires, you'd say, for like a couple of things.
Mm-hmm.
Where like you're not going to be using it like, you know, let's say farming Duke, for example, which is what you're doing. You're using a torture there. Like your ass is not using a Blood Fury, but us mains, we're just throwing money into the Grand Exchange and we're enjoying the Blood Fury. We're enjoying life right now, you know? And much like you, I don't think this item should have come into the game as strong as it was. Like the original version should have been the norm for it. And even then, like, it would still see use in that version where it's like 1% of the damage you do is what you heal back. It would have still seen play, is the crazy thing.
Yep.
Now it's just like this ridiculously powerful force that's locked behind a paywall, or I guess in Iron Man's case, you said like a 40-hour work week of pickpocketing these fucking things, hoping you get the double drop, or AFKing the Vires, like, you know, on the side and like a side client.
Which takes 30 hours basically to get 2 of them. Like it would take 30 hours of AFKing them versus 8 hours to get 2 shards efficiently. Mm-hmm. It's just like that's out of control.
So I have like proposed solutions for this. I don't think the blood shards should be coming from different sources at all. One thing I do propose is like, I guess like not so much a compromise, but also like something that makes sense to it. Goes off like how I wanted the Blood Fury to go in the first place. Like once the Blood Fury runs out of charges, it should evaporate entirely and you have no Amulet of Fury left. And if you want to add more charges to it, you need to add an Onyx and a Blood Shard to go with it to fuel this thing. And this would have served as a very good Onyx sync because we have like Every boss in the game drops a fucking Onyx. Dude, I got an Onyx from Coliseum yesterday. I'm like, why is this on the table? Like, why do we need this?
Yeah, it's bad.
We need less shit dropping Onyxes. So, like, my idea for it as, like, a form of, like, soft compromise is putting an Onyx, cut or uncut, fuck it, we'll make a cut, I guess, into an already existing Blood Fury, and it adds 1,000 or, like, 500 charges. It adds, like, a small amount. So, like, there is a way for Iron Man to get them without...
Yep. That would be amazing. If it was
their characters.
If it was just that change, if it was just to make it so Onyxes now charge these things with 5,000 charges, and just up the limit to 100,000 already. Like, why is it only 30,000?
Not 5,000 for an Onyx. I'm talking like a small amount.
No,
like,
I think 5,000. I think 5,000.
You're fucking insane.
No, I don't think I am. Because
I think like
they normally cost about 2.5 million.
Yeah, the shards are like, what, 13 or so right now.
Well, it's just because they cleared a bunch of bots. So, listen, this is another thing I need to mention. The only reason the blood shards are even at a reasonable price of 13 mil, which people think is egregious, that's still reasonable. No fucking main is just camping sentinels. It's all bots and gold farmers. And when they clear them, the price shoots up by double. So why not just clear the bots and make the drop rates more reasonable so that real players can actually like do this, including my Iron Man brethren? Like, come on, like this is out of control. So just if they were to just boost the drop rates to these things, if the pickpocketing rate,
if you make the drop rate different, the bots are still going to farm it, and now they're going to be even cheaper than ever before. And now Blood Fury is just permanorm.
Ban the bots. That's a bot problem. That's the thing. That's a bot problem. It's the same thing with everything else in the game that's just become absurdly cheap. It's mostly bots. So just figure out the bot problem, but let the real players have a decent time getting the items if they need it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
My reason is like I don't want to incentivize use or like hyper buff like its acquisition is because Blood Fury is quite literally one of the strongest items in the game right now. Like, that item is unfair with how good it is. And it should have never come into the game in the state it's in. So I don't necessarily want to incentivize, like, its use more.
I thought you weren't a man of integrity, though. Come on, Nicole. I need you on this.
I'm not pushing for this. You don't see me, like, having tirades or, like, making ramble videos.
I need you on my side fully. I need you on my side fully here.
This is one where we just disagree. I think the item should not be incentivized. I think it should stay as rare as it is, but have like more avenues to charge it, like
I see.
Throwing an Onyx into it for like a small amount or something like that. But it has to be like a pre-existing Blood Fury. And also, if you run out of charges, have fun getting another shard, boy. Stupid Iron Man. I think it's like fine as it is, like, but give us the option to like toss an Onyx into there for 500 charges or something, like a small amount, like not an economically valuable amount. But like another avenue to go into it, because we can see blood shards are still going to be increasing in price as long as the bots are like kept off of them. That item is very much like enjoyed by a lot of people, and I don't think they're going to be like weaning themselves off of it. Like even if, like it'll get to a point where the price like reaches an event horizon where people say fuck it, I'll just use the torture and bring an extra brew with me into something of whatever the fuck they're doing. But yeah, I think that it creates like a healthy market for it too. That's another thing. You know?
The biggest problem is just the absolute bullshit hours it takes to get a Blood Fury and the method itself. If the method was more fun, like if you were to get these blood shards from actually riveting content, something actually fun, and it still takes as long,
then the price would plummet. Half the reason it's kept up is because both the methods of acquisition suck and nobody wants to do them. Or they become like side things you do where you just like AFK on buyers.
But they're still too rare. The only reason they've ever been at a somewhat stable price because there's just the amount of bots and gold farmers. It's just like if there had never been a gold farmer or bot, these things would be like fucking 40 mil. Like if and only real players.
I'm happy with that.
That's
strong side of this, I would be over the moon.
It's too expensive, and it's just not a. It's not a fun experience getting them. It's just awful. So I don't know. There just needs to be other ways to do it. Or at least this was another suggestion. Maybe with Mauritania Elite. So this kind of like excludes all bots because this is just like super high requirement. Get Mauritania Elite. Now you have a separate Vire area where only real players can go. And they get an increased chance of blood shards. I would even say double. Just double the drop rate.
Like 1 in 3,000 from pickpocketing, 1 in 1,000 from fighting them. Just
Yeah,
60%.
just something better where real
That I could agree
players that
with.
need them, that have been playing the game, it's mostly going to be a bunch of Iron Men out there, like, are going to get this nice extra chance.
That one I can agree with for the
Yeah,
whole sense of like only progressed accounts are going to go there. Like you're only really having Mauritania elite if your account is incredibly progressed. And
exactly.
someone that's at that state is not going to be farming blood shards for money, even with that 60% drop
Yeah,
rate. You know,
yeah.
they're not going to
That
do
would
that.
be a
That's like an
great
option for Iron
compromise.
Man to go. And
That
there's
would be
also like
much
loafers,
better.
so you can make some loafer money. One comparison I want to make again for devil's advocate purposes, you
Hmm.
want to have like blood shards come from like more commonly grinded things. So I have one item in particular that would actually fit somewhere that is canon, and it's a very pain in the ass grind for Iron Man too. Can you guess what it is? It's a weapon.
Wait, repeat the what it,
It is
so
a rare item drop to grind.
it's a weapon, you said?
Yeah, it's a rare. It's a rare item, a weapon. Pretty much all Iron Men don't enjoy
Bofa.
grinding it, but it could no, but it
Oh,
could come from somewhere else as a form of like passive content. So you're thinking like oh you could get them from
Dragon
Tob, a hard
Warhammer.
mode Tob.
Oh wait.
Bingo!
Okay.
Imagine if that got put on the drop table for regular shamans and Chambers as Eric. How would you like that?
I would love that.
You're a fucking greedy little Iron Man, is what you are.
No, I'm not. That makes so much sense. You kill like 2 or 3 shamans. It would take 1,000 chambers if you're soloing. Okay, no, it would take 1,500 chambers, solo chambers, if every single raid had shamans in it to go raid for one Dragon Warhammer. That is totally reasonable, and it would make it
Yeah, but it's
so much more
bringing more
exciting.
into the game.
No, it doesn't matter. Like it like yes, it's marginally bringing a few more into it. This is like the exact mindset that I had, or that I was trying to argue with Mod Arcane when we had original Nightmare. I was like, why the fuck are the drop rates in an 80-man so out of control skewed to never incentivize anything above a 5-man? And he's like, well, if
That
they
one
were
I don't agree with.
well, if they were 80-man, then more people would be, getting Nightmare uniques into the game. I'm like, that means fewer people would be like doing other content though. Like the more people that are doing one piece of content means there's fewer doing the other content. I understand like in this case it's a little bit different because obviously you're just adding a Dragon Warhammer. So yes, marginally, very marginally there would be more Dragon Warhammers coming to the game, but it would be so exciting. That is just perfect. Like it makes too much sense. The shaman, a normal shaman has 150 HP. These things in chambers have like fucking 800. It's like it's not it's
In a group
real.
raid, maybe, yeah.
It's like nothing. It's like just I don't know. I just think it's not a big deal at all.
A lot of the raids get completed today, and got to remember, like, some are going to be going to main accounts. It's going to be flooding the market with them, and that thing's already in like kind of a not that useful state right now.
Oh, it's
'cause Elder
shit
Maul
now. It's just an Iron Man item at this point.
Yeah, I think at this point, like, it's kind of like a moot point, just because the item has no true purpose or best in slot use anymore. I
Yeah,
think.
it's pretty useless.
Yeah, because you can build a chest with an Elder Maul now. You don't need to use a
Yeah.
hammer or Dragon Warhammer. Like, you can
Yeah.
just bash that thing with a maul.
Yeah. So this is an old topic for sure, but I think it's because you brought it up. I've had this discussion before where people have been against adding it to chambers. In my eyes, it makes perfect sense to add it to chambers.
I just don't see any reason to do it.
You know what they
Like,
should
at this
also
point-
do? Soda Seg should drop a fucking dark bow.
It already drops long bones and curve bones, which is kind of wild to me.
Drop a dark bow. Drop a death talisman.
One Slayer Iron Man now gets a dark bow.
Yeah. That's what we need. Oh my god.
Now we're beginning to meme a little bit.
Yeah. God damn. Yeah, no, but just wrapping up the Blood Fury thing, I'm totally with you. I think we fall into the same categories. It's different. It's different talking to Iron Man versus mains. You see the game differently than I do at this point. But one of the things I want to I want to make very clear when I hear, and this was a YouTube comment that was just made like 13 hours ago or something. I checked it this morning. It was just some guy, because I was talking about how annoying Blood Furies are to get. And this guy was like, you chose to limit yourself. And that's like a conversation stopper. It's just like you just say you chose to limit yourself because you're an Iron Man. Like so anything that ever comes out that's just like the stupidest grind to ever do, you can just say that to them. But it's just like the worst form because you can have a rational conversation about how stupidly long it takes to grind an item or how stupidly miserable the piece of content actually is without just circling back to you chose to limit yourself. I don't know. I find that so brain dead. And yes,
that I can like agree with to a certain extent because it does like change the way you grind for certain things in the game that a main normally wouldn't, and that's like part of the charm of Iron Man. That some stuff is just like, what are we doing? You know, like your blood shard thing. I'm at the point where I agree with you for like the elite area where like you get these like slightly better drop rates for things, but you need the elite diary to do it, and then like it doesn't really affect anything because it's not going to have like a bunch of people flocking to do this kind of thing because it's not that great of a moneymaker.
Yeah.
In all sense of it.
It would be really great because the economy wouldn't be affected much at all. It would just be a bunch of Iron Men that are not even involved in the economy doing it.
It might change like I don't know how progressed like a lot of other people's alts are, but let's say somebody has like an alt that they do Rune Dragons on. It might change to Vyres depending on like the price of blood shards at the time. I don't know though.
That's true. But at least, then people can benefit off the potentially marginally cheaper blood shards because people do like buying cheap blood shards. So.
Oh yeah, I stocked up on so many. When I saw them was 4 mil, I told everyone go buy them right now because eventually they're going to ban the bots in like 8 months. So you're going to want to make sure you have them now.
Wait, you bought them for how much?
Like 4 mil a piece, like a long time ago,
shit.
and they're all gone now. I evaporated through those things.
No, they burn quick. They burn through quick. Well, I guess there's one of the like the closing sentiments I want to leave to this like conversation is just like I like where the game is right now. I don't know. I would probably agree mostly with players that are saying this is the golden era. I really do think if I wasn't so jaded and I hadn't played this game for over 20,000 hours, I'd be feeling the exact same way. I think it's just the amount of time I put into this. It's just like, you kind of are just a bit disconnected with reality. But I really do like where the game is, and I like how careful the JMods are ultimately because they do have so many communities to cater to, and making huge leaps and bounds and changing things too drastically can be way too extreme. There's a lot of players that do want changes to be made, so sometimes in some people's eyes the changes are being made too quickly. But I think they've struck a very like perfect balance of just very slowly, very methodically, very carefully changing things, making it better, and I think the game's in a great state. What about you?
As of right now, I'd say for the most part, it's in a pretty good state at the moment. Like we're starting to reach a point of event horizon for how strong our characters are, but like that's inevitable. Like the game's been around 11 years. Like we're not going to be able to keep the same power balance of like God War's dungeon being the best for everything, but overall, like as far as updates have been going, how like more importantly, how like the JMods have a face in the community, have been like engaging with the community, is really good. And I think that's something like the other two like MMOs in the top two, like what's the other one? World of Warcraft and Final Fantasy. The devs are nowhere near as in touch with the community as they are with Old School RuneScape. I think it's like our biggest like strong point.
Oh yeah,
and something that will like make our game like survive the longest out of any other MMO. As far as like game sense right now, it's fine. I don't really like go for like nitty gritty like problems anymore. Like the Blood Fury thing, I don't like pursue like my agendas on that. Like my agendas and like other things, they just don't exist anymore. I stopped caring ages ago. Now I just like kind of play the game when I feel like it and just enjoy it for what it is.
That's the best way to play too. And
it makes things a lot more enjoyable, a lot less stressful.
You're gonna have to just get on the agenda train one last time for this hardcore main separate server push. But other than that,
I'll push for that. We'll talk in the content creator Discord and just be like, day one of us asking for the game mode that we'd all love to play and enjoy the game for, and we still haven't gotten it yet. And just increase the number by 1 and repost the pasta every day.
Yep, that's what we need to do. But I'll be pushing my agenda. Obviously, I'm all about it. I think it would be the greatest game mode to ever like grace this game. Honestly, I think it'd be so much fun.
I said I would be so down for it. Plus, the thing I can't talk apparently. One of the things I'd be the most excited for with this game mode is going to Stronghold Security for 10k and watching everybody just get domed by the spiders in the first room on the third floor.
Oh yeah.
That I am super excited to watch.
Oh yeah. It's gonna be fucking great.
If you die, you can't play the same account again for like 24 hours, so people can't just spam die their 10k, feed it to someone, and keep farming 10k at the start.
Honestly, let them farm 10k at a fucking time. I dare you.
Really?
Make that your money maker, you little bitch. Like you're just gonna keep recycling that. Like, oh my god, yeah, send it. Let them. Because it's ultimately, I mean, bro, that's like worse than agility pyramid. That's just like what are you doing? Farming 10k repeatedly? Like, I guess there would be bot farms doing it, but I can see bot farms doing that actually.
I'll let the devs figure that out.
Yeah. All right, a cold one. This was really nice catching back up. Obviously, I saw you in Orlando, so we already kind of got a little IRL meetup, which is awesome. It's always nice seeing you. And by the way, I'm gonna leak this. I was very appreciative of you purchasing my fancy dinner off of me that Sunday evening. That was great of you. That was
oh yeah, I took your ticket to the dinner.
Just for basically, we had a Michelin star restaurant the night before, and I was thinking, okay, maybe around the $250 to $300 range. Now it's like $550 a person. And then I had another night planned for another fancy dinner. The very next night, I'm like, nope. I need somebody to take this off of me. And the cold one graciously accepted it and paid me the amount. So really appreciate you. It was great. Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah. So, okay, a cold one. I want to wrap this thing up with a couple shout outs from you. Anybody in the community you think deserves one?
I think since this one was like more centralized around like GDQ as like the main topic and cause for like this cast in the first place, I think I'll put my 3 shout outs to, I'd say like the 3 people, or no, we'll give it 4. The 4 people that helped me out the most with like making this run possible in the first place. So the first 3 would be my couch in the same ways that they've always helped me out. Shenanigans underscore is very important. Kizaron and One David J were really helpful for like, a couch cast and like, maintaining like, audience retention and entertainment. We had the bit with Keys, like, just being carefree, just like training some crabs, getting leveled up and getting crashed and everything, which is really funny. Shen being really helpful with like introducing me to like the Pokemon speedrun community, like back at AGDQ, and helping me with the speedrun in general. And One David J for doing the same, and also just being like an absolute carry for like co-commentating to like explain the game to people that were just watching for the first time and like didn't know anything about the game. Like his commentary was honestly on point. Like looking back at it, like he was a huge carry for that run. And then last person to help me get into like GDQ space is Saints Divide. She helped me a lot with formatting the video to submit the game in the first place and telling me like a lot of key points that I should focus on to like get the attention of the games committee. And I think without those 4, this run would not have gone as well as it did in the first place. So it was really cool to get it to be brought into reality in that way.
Hell yeah. It was really cool, man. I think you were definitely the person to do the job, and I think you executed it very well. You gave Old School a nice advertisement, so it was great. Well done.
Yeah, I'm expecting all the revenue for subscriptions for the next week for that plug.
Yes, guys. So down in the description of this video, go check out a cold one. I'm gonna have his links down below. Gonna have his previous casts as well. So if you want to check out some OG casts, I think you were episode 8, right? Like one of the.
You have it in the tweets. Yeah, I was number 8.
Number 8 on the. So you were one of the OGs, the single digit. Now we're in the triple digits. In the next,
we're approaching 200.
Yeah, in the next like 16 years, we'll be in the quadruple digits. Just got to grind for another 16 years, weekly episodes. So.
Yeah, RuneScape would be around long enough. We're making it to quadruple digits. Ain't no way we're not.
I want to make it to 5 digits. I just gotta we gotta come out with some immortality pill. I think I can make it then. But
oh my god,
I appreciate you, a cold one. Thanks for I'm just. It's nice. This is the last thing I'll say. It's like it's nice having you still in the community because there have been a lot, and you've been streaming, a little bit longer than I have. But seeing the creators that you know and love, and then they kind of just move on, and it's just like, damn, I miss those guys, and it's cool keeping like, the people that have stuck around. It's nice. Don't take you for
Shout out to
granted.
the boy Letu and Define Alive. Miss him every day.
I know. Where's BF Rocket? Is he coming back? I know he's had a few tweets where he's like, like one last shot with this hardcore or whatever. We're gonna start streaming again, and then I see like a one stream or something, and then he falls off the face of the earth again. I don't know.
I miss his streams, man. I know he's like busy IRL, like super, but I miss him being around a lot.
Yeah. So I appreciate the guys that are still here. That's what we got to do. We got to appreciate the people that are still around. So thank you for all you do. Great content. Keep up the great work. Hope to see you on next year as well. I mean, you definitely are a recurring face on these Sae Bae cast posters. So
We're 4 for 4. I'm gonna go for 5 for 5 next year, baby.
For real. All right, Cold One. Thanks for your time. For those listening, if you want to support the cast, down in the description, there's a Patreon link and a YouTube membership link. You get your name on the title screens. I appreciate all the supporters. Thank you guys. And we will have a special cast. I'm not leaking it quite yet, but we're going to have a very special cast on Saturday. I'm going to leak it to a Cold One after this recording ends, but very special cast.
Oh, hell yeah.
And I guess if you gift a Cold One 5 subs or something, maybe 10 subs, he'll leak it to you as well, but you can't leak it to anybody. But
50 gifted.
Yeah, 50 gifted. There we go. All right, guys. Thanks for all listening. Cold One, thank you once again, and we'll catch you guys.
Thanks for having me on as always, man. Appreciate it as always, and I always will.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Peace out, guys.